KBC.
By the way, nothing gets me pumped up like today's lesson. I hope teacher is coming.
Now you want me to speed out my business strategies, is it you? Unaniona nikikaa paka ama nini? Do you want this things or not?
Fala, what is wrong with you? Julian, don't mind him, he's just like a porcupine. Kwani, how many cows were you fooling around with?
What? I did no such thing.
You didn't know such thing. It is my word against yours.
Wow. Black men. Typical Kinyanjui.
Wake me up when all this is over. When I'm wiser and I'm older.
Mse,
Utiaji.
washtakiwa?
Wewe utiaji itakumaliza wewe mzee. Na wewe hata chupi unaipa ya nini? Na wewe si msichana. Wewe ni mjinga ya wapi hata wewe?
Kwa nini hiyo miaka yote ikawa ni siku hiyo tu unatuitania polisi?
Ninyi wote ni kama mlirokwa.
Wewe nyamaza.
Na mali si tulikuja tukakumwakia takataka.
Hapana.
Hapana, si ndio? Na usiniongeleshe na malingo kwa sababu hata mimi niko na malingo. Wewe ulikuwako tukienda kumwaka hizo takataka?
Si ndo?
Ulikuwa tukienda kumwaka hizo?
Mimi alikuwa hiyo ndo
Wewe maacha pokea ukweli.
Ngoja.
Unafutanga bangi?
Tumii bangi.
Namuuliza
Sasa ni swali gani hilo?
Kama anaongea vitu za ujinga, yani mtu mzima.
Wewe ukimwangalia huyu anavuta bangi.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. The date is the 11th of September, 2024. Good morning. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Victor Lo. So Harambee Stars beat Namibia 2-1. All right. Cool. And we are happy.
Yes.
We are all happy about that. They beat Namibia 2-1.
And the fact that they beat them home, you know,
yes.
at their home.
Yes.
It's just amazing.
That was an away match.
Yeah, it was away.
I don't know how it will be when they come back to, probably it will be Kasarani.
Yeah, but it's been a minute since we had of Harambee Stars win. So this is a very much welcome idea.
Yes.
And the whole game was nice.
But what do you think, guys? What if their return match is played somewhere in Kisumu, Bukhungu Stadium, not at Kasarani, or is taken to Mbaraki in Mombasa? We have stadium around the country. You remember the president came up with that idea to, you know, to work on the stadium across the country. What if that match is taken to Bukhungu Stadium in Kakamega, taken to Kisumu, Jomo Kenyatta Sports Grounds, not in Nairobi? I don't know. Marie, how are you? What do you think about that?
I'm well, Victor. I think it will be exciting. You know, most matches have always been played in Nairobi, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So it's the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
We even have Machakos, by the way.
Yeah. But Machakos is just Nairobi. You know, we should take it to, you know, Fano or Western somewhere. I think it will be quite exciting, actually.
Yeah. We have a France Stadium in Kinakuru. All right. Do we have one in Kirinyaga?
Yes, we have one at Mwea.
Wanguru Stadium.
Yes, Wanguru Stadium.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I would want to see if such a match is transferred to the counties, if people would come out to support the national team.
That's actually my worry. Like, would we have enough people, you know, filling up those stadiums?
Vivian.
Oh, yes. Because
Vivian.
Yeah,
yes. Tell you,
we'll have enough
football.
people. Yeah.
People love football.
We'll find ourselves there.
I think they would actually miss space for them.
Yes.
And actually, because that match would come with an international tag, people would want to be part of it. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Congratulations to Harambee Stars. All right, so later on in the program, today on The Viewpoint, I'll be joined by, that's Wilson Sossion, who is former NAT Secgen. I'll be joined by Francis Bongagi, Deputy Governor of Machakos County, and that is called Osido, who is the Executive Director of Governance Watch here in Kenya. We want to take a look at what's really happening in the country. So today is called Political Buffet. I'll be serving you one piece at a time. It's a buffet. Look out for that. Vivian.
All right, a very good morning to each and every one of you who is tuned in on the show this beautiful Wednesday morning. A morning where the education sector seems to be grappling in challenges. You know, yet another challenge is coming up for that particular sector, you know, after the NAT and KUPPET teachers called off their strike. Now today, the university lecturers are expected to give a strike notice, that is a 7-day strike notice, and by the 18th of this March, they may be downing their tools. I mean, and if that happens, this is like a twin challenge in the universities. Remember, there's the model, the new funding model that they are also against at the moment, and then if the lecturers down their tools, it means that the university students won't be able to continue with their learning. So I hope, Victor, you'll be bringing in that conversation as well, so that we just get to know what is happening in the university, or rather in the education sector. Well, that and much more will be coming to you from right here. Good Morning Kenya on KBC. Mike.
Good morning, Vivian. And actually, after politics, we shall be having a conversation surrounding the Public Service Superannuation Fund and also the amendments that are proposed in this Public Service Superannuation Fund Act. That conversation will be coming later on in the program, so you want to tune in. And if you want to be part of the conversations that are happening on Good Morning Kenya, you can find us on all our social media platforms. We are at KBC Channel 1 on all our social media platforms. Remember, you can also visit our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. Marie.
Indeed, a very good morning to all of you joining us here in Nairobi and across the country. You're just in time for the Good Morning Kenya show. And perhaps we could say that the education sector is facing a crisis. Apart from what Vivian has already alluded to with the strike coming up from the university, fraternity, also the Kenya Power and Lighting is actually distancing itself from the tragedy at Endarasha Hillside Academy. Details will be coming up in the news this morning, and of course the Harambee Stars when we'll be bringing you details of how it went down. So in just a moment, I'll be bringing you up to speed with what is happening in as far as the news is concerned. Indeed, welcome back. The Kenya Power and Lighting Company has distanced itself from the fire tragedy at the Hillside Endarasha Academy. The power utility firm says none of its power lines or connections were found to be faulty during its assessment on what could have triggered the inferno. This even as the multi-agency investigation team continues to comb the ill-fated dormitory for clues of what could have caused the fire. JJ Curia brings us the details of that story.
At the Hillside Endarasha Academy, the multi-agency investigating team fills the school compound. It is the 5th day of piecing together links that will finally answer the puzzle in the minds of parents over what transpired on the fateful Thursday night. The team is led by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, who have already closed the school and marked it a scene of crime. Even journalists are not allowed past the administration block so as not to contaminate the scene. But the officers are rushing against time to conclude the investigations before the schools reopen, particularly for grade 6 students expected to sit the KPSEA exams. And as the investigations continue, the Kenya Power and Lighting Company appears to be absolving itself from blame.
The fire did not affect 2 prepaid meters located within the larger school complex. This was also the case for all other adjacent customers supplied by the same transformer. The conclusion, based on the findings of the preliminary analysis of our protection systems from the meter box to the substation, where the medium voltage line serving the school emanates from, we have ascertained that there was no link between the cause of the fire and the fault on our network as alleged in a section of the media reports.
While there were claims that a bulb explosion could have caused the fire, the power utility firm says none of its power infrastructure was at fault before and during the incident, further denying that there was a power blackout in the area by the time of the incident.
Issues to do with fire, being an active investigation going on, the fire experts can tell us because different fires have different impacts, reaction times and all that. We may not be able to conclusively talk about it.
The autopsy for the 21 victims of a tragedy commences Wednesday morning, an exercise that will be led by the government pathologist. The exercise was preceded by the collection of DNA samples on Monday, with DNA matching exercise expected to last for a month. But for Angeline Wamboi, the exercise on Monday did not even bring some sort of closure. Instead, it opened another chapter of anguish in her life. Despite her participation in the DNA sample collection, Wamboi claims her 11-year-old son Robinson may have survived the fire.
Kulingana venye walituelezea ni kweli, wanasema mahesabu yenye wanasema ni kama ilihesabika, lakini sasa siko sure, bado sijakubali kwamba mtoto wangu ameenda, sababu sasa unapewa information kwamba mtoto tulitoka naye na yule ni classmate wake, si ati ni mtu ana ni mtu ati hamjui ama hawasomi, wanasoma class moja.
She claims several children have corroborated information that her child had escaped the fire unscathed, but without any clothes.
Venye nilisikia moto iliwaka, nilitumana, sistangu anakaa hapa Nyeri, mimi nakaa Mombasa. So nilituma sistangu na akatoka na akaenda kule, lakini bado hakupata mtoto. Lakini kuna mtoto wa classmate wake alikuwa anasema kwamba walitoka na huyo mtoto na hata wakapewa blanketi pamoja, wakajifunikia. Though yule mtoto mamake haishi bali, so mamake alipotokezea akaita mtoto wake, wakaenda na mtoto wake, na hawakujua kama wagu wamebaki kwa class gani, sababu waliambiwa waingie class B.
Wamboi hopes the coming days will accord her respite and put a smile back on her face by reuniting with her son. As the multi-agency team investigating the fire tragedy at the hillside Diaspora Academy continues to piece crucial evidence that could lead towards what transpired on that fateful day, the revelation by the Kenya Power and Lighting Company that none of its supply lines or connection can be blamed for the tragedy leaves the investigation team with two options: to look into the solar power connection or foul play.
Indeed, a very sad story there. We hope that the parents will find some closure and even solace in the midst of all the difficulties. Now, the Supreme Court has begun hearing an appeal by the National Assembly on the Finance Act 2023, which was declared unconstitutional by the Court of Appeal. In the opening statement, the National Assembly argued that the act was crucial to the government's operations. However, the respondents, led by Okiom Tata, argued the powers of Parliament are derived from the people, and the people had exercised their right on the matter, urging the courts to listen to the voices of the people.
Day one of the hearing for the Finance Act 2023 kicked off in earnest at the Supreme Court of Kenya. The hearing comes following the recent Supreme Court ruling that temporarily stopped the appellate court's decision, declaring the act unconstitutional pending the hearing and conclusion of the current appeal by the National Assembly. Lawyer Issa Mansour, acting on behalf of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the National Assembly, told the bench there was sufficient public participation prior to the enactment of the Finance Act 2023, contrary to the position of the Appellate Court, which invalidated the Act.
The Court of Appeal was under duty to consider how many of these proposals were considered and how many were rejected, in making that sweeping determination that there was failure to account or to be transparent, because that is not true. Out of all these recommendations, 97% were dealt with in the report.
The estimates of revenue loan and grants, whether the appropriation and the Finance Act was sequenced within the law,
that a right has been breached.
Senior Counsel Professor Gizo Muigai, acting on behalf of the Attorney General, told the court that the country stands to lose revenue amounting to 214 billion shillings should the government revert to the Finance Act 2022.
Affordable housing legislation in place, and therefore we will be inviting the court to find that the Court of Appeal acted in error, and that this issue is alive, and that this issue should be determined.
Was raised in the High Court.
On their part, the respondents led by Busia Senator Okiya Omtata and Eliud Matinde told the bench that public participation was disregarded and the court should dismiss the application presented by the petitioners.
I submit that the budget-making process in Parliament under Article 221 is a legislative process that cannot culminate in reports, statements, or other documents. It must culminate in an Act of Parliament. And the respondents have not produced an Act of Parliament containing estimates of revenue.
The bench, comprising Chief Justice Martha Koome, Lady Justice Philomena Mwilu, Justice Mohamed Ibrahim, Justice Smokin Wanjala, Lady Justice Njoki Ndungu, and Justice William Ouko will continue hearing the case Wednesday. Ruth Wamboi for Good Morning, Kenya.
Now, calls for the decriminalization of attempted suicide in the country were renewed on Tuesday as Kenya joined the world in commemorating World Suicide Prevention Day. Speaking during the commemoration of the day in Nairobi, health experts and attempted suicide survivors decried the continued stigma, calling for open discussions on suicide and suicidal behavior in line with this year's theme, which is changing the narrative on suicide. Start the conversation. Joseph Wahongo with the details.
I was in addiction for over almost 20 years.
Stephen Odhiambo is a suicide attempt survivor. His is a tale of how hopelessness arising from a prolonged battle with drug abuse almost drove him over the edge.
My life basically became hopeless, and I felt it was better to be dead than alive.
He narrowly escaped, adding to the statistics of those who have taken their own lives after failing to get the necessary support in good time. Stephen's story resonates with that of thousands of young people in the country, aged between 15 and 29 years.
It's not a good thing when we can lose vijana, and most of the people who are losing their lives are actually young people to suicide.
Suicide ni gonjwa kama lile gonjwa lingine. Kwa hivyo unaweza enda kwa hospitali ukapimwa na ukatibiwa na ukapata matibabu.
According to data from the World Health Organization, suicide is ranked as the third largest leading cause of death among the youth.
Because most youth, what is making them get into suicidal ideation is when you're not able to afford the things that you currently want.
As the world commemorates World Suicide Prevention Day, stakeholders gathered in Nairobi to pick up the pace on discussions around suicide and suicidal behavior, with calls to enhance the response, time and assistance, create awareness and end stigma.
We're encouraging all men or gender, the male people, to be able to talk about their issues. Most men don't want to talk about it because of fear, others stigmatization. And now we have an anonymous calling where you can call and nobody will know it is John who is calling or it is Joseph who is calling.
With clear data on suicide rate in Kenya not available as several cases go unreported, experts revived the push for legislators to decriminalize attempted acts of suicide.
Let's not use the word committed suicide, because we don't say committed diabetes or committed cancer. We say that person died from cancer. So once we change that narrative and say this person died from suicide, then we are looking at it as a symptom of a disease. And if it's truly a symptom, what needs to be done is treatment.
Indeed, it is a symptom of a disease, and the question is whether healthcare workers are able to identify, symptoms of mental health disorders right at the health facilities. And the study is out where 42% of Kenyans seeking care in healthcare facilities have symptoms of severe depression, according to a 2021 study. Despite the high burden of mental health, Kenya has very low rates of mental health literacy among primary healthcare workers. This comes as the Ministry of Health launched the National Clinical Guidelines for the Management of Common Mental Health Disorders and an e-training platform to equip health workers to deal with increased burden of mental health in the country.
I appreciate the fact that the government has worked very hard to improve the number of health workers in the country, but still the gap in terms of the health workforce is quite big, and indeed there are several counties in the country without a single mental health worker.
The guidelines will offer several advantages by ensuring that healthcare professionals are following evidence-based practices. The guidelines will help to enhance the quality of care and improve patient outcomes. Ultimately, this will contribute to a more supportive and inclusive environment for individuals with mental health conditions.
To matters Diaspora now, where Prime Cabinet Secretary and Foreign and Diaspora Affairs Cabinet Secretary, that is Musalia Mudavadi, says the government is working towards defining and adopting a clear and different strategy in forging a stronger partnership with the Kenyan diaspora. Speaking when he met the Kenyan diaspora in Namibia on the first day of his official visit, Mudavadi expressed the government's deep gratitude to the Kenyan diaspora globally for their substantial contribution to Kenya's economic growth through remittances. Mudavadi said such efforts have played a crucial role in stabilizing the Kenyan shilling against global currencies.
Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi's first day of his official visit in Windhoek, Namibia. It is here that he underscored the government commitment in creating a stronger partnership with the Kenyan diaspora in a move aimed at stabilizing the country's economy. Mudavadi, who met the Kenyan diaspora in Namibia, lauded them for their contribution to Kenya's economic growth through remittances.
Today, the figures indicate that Kenya is now ripe for a diaspora bond, where you can help in investing in the infrastructure, key infrastructure, whether it is the roads, whether it is hospitals or institutions that matter, that have a serious impact on the people.
He revealed that money sent home by Kenyans living abroad continued on a growth trajectory, hitting a record of 671 billion shillings in 2023, which boosted the country's balance sheet amid falling export revenues. He urged the diaspora community to actively engage in shaping the diaspora policy paper soon to be tabled in Parliament by sharing their insights and proposals through Kenya's high commissions and embassies.
If you can consolidate some of your views and share with us through the embassy what you think should be part and parcel of Kenya's foreign policy. You, as Kenyans in the diaspora, have got a big opportunity to enrich that foreign policy and make us understand it better, make us define it better, so that going into the future, we'll have a better approach.
Kenyans living and working in Namibia called on the government to fast-track the introduction of direct flights between Nairobi and Windhoek.
Timothy Kipnusu reporting there. The Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Blue Economy and Fisheries and Maritime Affairs, Hassan Joho, was on Tuesday at pains to explain to members of Parliament the expenditure of 1.6 billion shillings on fish stock assessment in the last financial year. Joho appeared before the National Assembly Blue Economy Committee, had a difficult time justifying allocation of about 3.6 billion shillings towards stock taking of fish in the Indian Ocean for a period of 3 years. There was drama as legislators differed over a request by the CS for an additional 600 million shillings in addition to the 1.6 billion shillings already spent in the exercise. Kevin Washira has more.
The Ministry of Blue Economy, Fisheries and Maritime Affairs officials led by CS Hassan Joho appeared before the National Assembly Blue Economy Committee. The meeting would turn dramatic as a section of legislators appeared to want to hold brief on behalf of the ministry.
I am only correcting the chair on the terminology he's using. I can.
Divisions in the committee emerged after the ministry sought an additional 600 million shillings on top of 1.6 billion shillings already spent in the last financial year in fish stock assessment.
All I wanted is to correct the terminology, that we are not using 3.6 billion to count fish. Stock assessment is not basically counting fish. We need to use the correct terminology, Chairman. I have no interest. It is assessment of what types of fish we have, the currency, when the seasonal, how the fish moves, and probably what then as a country we will need to do.
What I'm saying, we are members of Parliament here. Can we give the CS and the PS and the team to answer the questions? Correct. Let our colleagues, members of Parliament, not respond to our questions.
The Ministry of Blue Economy is set to spend 3.6 billion shillings in fish stock assessment in Indian Ocean for 3 years.
This framework contract is for 3 years. 3 years, so every year is 1.2 billion.
Yes.
So that's what I want to clarify.
And as a country, we must also understand where we are, so that when we defend a position, it is based on detailed scientific research.
While CS Joho says the assessment is necessary for attracting investors, MPs expressed reservations on return on investment, citing the revenue generated from the fish industry was barely 50 million shillings per year.
Number one, it informs us on the kind of licensing regime we may use. Number two, we will not be able to go to investors and tell them, come to Kenya, bring your vessel to Kenya.
CS Joho also indicated projects worth 2.1 billion shillings may stall in his ministry owing to budget cuts.
Very quickly, let's move to sports, where the national soccer team Harambee Stars registered their first victory in the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers when they beat Namibia 2-1 in Group J match played yesterday at Orlando Stadium in Johannesburg, South Africa. After a barren first half, Kenya came back rejuvenated and went ahead through a sumptuous free kick scored by John Avire in the 58th minute. The goals seemed to have woken up, that is Namibia, who pressed Kenya in search of an equalizer, but they were caught off guard as Kenya scored a second through a swift attack with Duke Abuya's finishing off and Eric Marcelo Ouma teasing across the 77th minute. Namibia scored a consolation dip in stoppage time through Dion Hoto's free kick, but it was too late as Kenya went on to grab the 3 vital points. Kenya now tops Group J standings with 4 points following that win, while Cameroon, who battled to a barren draw with Zimbabwe, ranked second with the same points but with an inferior goal difference. Zimbabwe is second while Namibia tails the group with no points. Congratulations are in order to the Harambee Stars, and we wish them all the best as they continue their campaign to qualify for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. Well, that's where we end the bulletin this morning. Thank you so much for starting your day with us here on Good Morning Kenya. As usual, Good Morning Kenya still continues. My colleague Mike Megwe is on the other side, waiting to just take you through the interviews together with his guests. So I'll be taking a break right there. But before Mike comes up, here is a look at the weather forecast. Is the second leading cause of cancer deaths among women in Kenya.
What cancer does is your normal cells grow and outgrow. They proliferate, grow really, really fast, you know. Imagine like when your tea is boiling and it just flames up. And that growth overwhelms the blood supply, so tissues begin to rot and fall off.
Adults need to have 300 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity per week. Be open to the possibility of screening.
So this is the kit itself. It is as easy as the way a lady would use a tampon.
This is Health and Lifestyle, where we talk all matters health.
Ever crazy. Undoubtedly entertaining. And mind-boggling. The savage netizens capturing that unique moment.
I keep believing that one day they'll bring us together when they've shown in more ways than one. Whenever I'm near you, Sandy, you make me feel sexy, you make me feel irate. I'm feeling it. How about you, Sandy? Do you feel it? Oh, Lord knows that I don't want to be lonely tonight. The burning voice that I don't want to be lonely tonight. I don't want to wait and beg for your love. I don't want to wait and beg for your love.
at 7 minutes past the hour. Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya, and we delve right into the first conversation of the show. We are talking about the Public Service Superannuation Fund, and in studio I'm joined by the CEO of the same, who is Dr. Jonah Ayabei. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing this morning?
Very, very well.
Yes.
Yes.
If for someone who is hearing about Public Service Superannuation Fund, what is it and what does it involve in?
Yeah, thank you very much. Public Service Superannuation Fund is established under the Public Service Superannuation Scheme Act of 2012. And basically when we talk about Public Service Superannuation Fund, it's one of the occupational pension schemes that exist within the ambit of the Retirement Benefits Act. It was founded to make to provide for the benefits, retirement benefits for the members who are serving under the public service. And this includes the teachers in Kenya, it includes the discipline services, that is the National Police Service employees, the National Youth Service, and really it covers the entire civil service as well, those who are serving in the line ministries of government. So that's when we talk about the Public Service Fund. It's one of the occupational schemes that do exist in this country.
Is it the same as NSSF?
No, not at all. NSSF is a different entity. The National Social Security really covers the entire populace of Kenya, whether you are in the informal or formal sector. It is not tied to a particular occupation. So if you look at the one I mentioned about the Public Service Superannuation Scheme, we are actually referring to the employees of particular institution. You are either in civil service, you are either a teacher under the Teacher Service Commission, an employee of NYS, or an employee of the National Police Service, or any other institution that has been declared by the Cabinet Secretary of Public Service for the purpose of offering pension. NSSF, on the other hand, is more or less providing a universal pension scheme to all the general public, whether you are in formal employment or not. And it falls under what we call, within the categorization of pension schemes, under Pillar 1, where they're actually trying to reach out to all people to get some form of social security. PSSF, on the other hand, is under Pillar 2, within the categorization of the World Bank status of pension funds. So that brings a whole difference in between the two.
Yes. What benefits do members within this scheme enjoy?
Thank you very much. Yeah, just like any other occupational pension scheme, Public Service Superannuation Fund is funded by the members and the sponsor of the scheme, which in this case is the government of Kenya. So what I mean by funding is that every month, each member is contributing a percentage of their pensional emoluments, whereas the government also gives a portion of it. To be specific, employees under the Public Service Pension Fund, or the members, contribute 7.5%, and the employer contributes 15%. Employer in this case is equivalent to the government, because all of them are under the government employment's arrangement. So when these funds is put together with the investment return, we are able to pay them their retirement benefits when their time of exiting employment comes. So they enjoy the benefits of one, having a sustainable income beyond the working life. So they're able to serve and not be vulnerable in the society beyond their working life. Yes.
Now, one of the things that people also look at is the type of investment portfolio that such a scheme could bring about. So what are we looking at from that perspective?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, we are one of the biggest funds, and I think one of the key things that every other member would want to understand is, when you collect all these funds, where do you put them and how do you make the return? We do have a very, very robust investment policy statement that guides where our investments are, and this investment policy actually is in tandem with the guidelines of typical law, which in this case is the Retirement Benefits Act. So we have categorized our investment into various pots. In this case, we create what we call in finance a portfolio. That is to say, you are not putting investment in one basket. So we have investments in government securities. We do also have investments in listed securities, quoted at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and we have put some part of it in the offshore investments. And soon we'll also be going to areas of property, and not necessarily direct investment we could be doing under the private equity arrangements, so that we can be able to give a decent return and also address the issue of risk of members' investments. So we have created an array of areas where we put the investments. Yes.
Now, the Public Service Superannuation Scheme Act is under review. What informed these reviews? Maybe you could provide a background of that.
Thank you very much. The Public Service Superannuation Scheme Act came into being in the year 2012. And if you look back to history, before even the coming of the Act in 2012, it had been a debate in this country for many years, because public servants, teachers, were actually under an arrangement of an unfunded civil service pension scheme. When you are running an unfunded pension scheme, it creates a lot of problems, because your payments, your promise is tied to budgetary provisions or payments from the consolidated fund. So there was an arrangement that the government felt fit that we must have a funding of this scheme, so that when people exit from employment, you do not wait to see or compete within the funds that has been put within the consolidated fund. So this act came into being in the year 2012, but it took a total of 9 years for it to be operationalized. And of course, the many reasons were adjusting. The civil servants' pay was seen to be very low, the police, the teachers, and every stakeholder needed to be brought on board, the unions, to be able to understand the benefits of this fund pension scheme that was coming into being. So it was not until January 2021 that the commencement or the operationalization of this scheme started. So it took a bit of time in preparation. And now 3 years down the line, we have come to a realization that there are some clauses within the Act that are not in tandem with the bigger laws or the other regulations that do exist. So the reason why we are actually doing these amendments is to align, one, with the Retirement Benefits Act of 1997, which is regulating our scheme. I think it is important to note that as a public service superannuation scheme, we are under the regulations of the Retirement Benefits Act. And therefore, for you to operate in a neater way, you need to have the laws and the regulations to be speaking to each other in an aligned manner. So within the 3 years after the testing, we have come to the realization that there are some clauses within our PSSS Act that needs to be amended to speak into that. So it is the normal need to make it better, to speak better to the members and address their needs so that we don't create conflicts. I'll be mentioning some few areas of what some specific clauses that were not in line with the Retirement Benefits Act. Yes. Do you want me to proceed with that? I think the key one is that within our jurisdiction under the Retirement Benefits Act of 1997, one of the key things was the vesting period. When you talk about vesting period, when you contribute your funds to the scheme, whether it is wherever the occupational pension scheme, but so long as it is regulated within the Retirement Benefits Act, it is expected that those funds vest on you or they belong to you immediately. The contributor gives it to you. So your 7.5% in the case of our scheme and the 15% should actually immediately become your funds. Now, within the PSSS Act, which you are reviewing, we are trying to address that because we had made provisions that the vesting of employer contribution will take some time. I think the time provided was around 5 years. So we are now addressing it to be in tandem with the Retirement Benefits Act, and we are saying once you make your contributions, the vesting becomes immediate. So this is extremely beneficial to the members. And one of the key things is that when you're operating a pension scheme, we are kind of running what we are calling, for a better word, say a non-return way. In other words, when the funds are provided for you, it cannot be withdrawn back, say, to the sponsor. So we are actually safeguarding and reinvesting the benefits of the members. So members now will not say, I have to wait, or if I am dismissed before 5 years, I'll not be able to get my benefits, because we have reinvested it and they are separated from the sponsor's assets. Yes.
So for someone who is watching, can you belong to NSSF and PSSF at the same time?
Absolutely. You know, you may be aware that NSSF had an act of 2013, which was creating various tiers, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3.
Yes.
So in terms of the basic, what I said earlier, the pillar 1 contributions, the basic contribution that at tier 1, all our members still contribute to that lower level contribution. In terms of tier 2 contributions, they are exempted from that. So they can still contribute the very low at the minimum levels that is expected by the NSSF and still remain members of PSSF.
Yes.
Yes.
You said PSSF is one of the biggest pension scheme in the country. Absolutely. In terms of membership, what numbers are we looking at?
We are privileged to be running one of the biggest pension schemes in Kenya. To be very precise, I think we are now the second biggest. We have a total of 443,000 members. Which includes over 250,000 teachers. We have over 65,000 civil servants. We have those who are from the discipline service, around 120,000, and the numbers are growing. So really, it is a critical scheme, because if you talk of any corners of this nation, regardless of where you are coming from, I'm sure we have a member that is represented. So really, we are looking at this scheme to be having a more impactful way, because we are reaching out to quite a number of the vulnerable. And when you talk about 443,000, those are the direct beneficiaries. If you look at the trickle effect, those who will benefit beyond this 443,000, it's a bigger number.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, speaking of the changes, how have you engaged stakeholders? Because, you know, there's a big scheme and any changes that are made to the Act affect them directly. How have you engaged with them?
Thank you very much. I think the legal provisions, which I did mention, we are doing alignment, including the Constitution. If you look at the Kenyan Constitution, I think Article 43E and Article 57, it talks about government guaranteeing social security to the citizens. So really, we are not going to start and say we are amending a law without going back to the citizens or the stakeholders. So what we have done is, first of all, to get a technical team, because writing the law is technical in itself. So we constituted a team, or rather, let me put it this way, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of National Treasury constituted a working team, which had people from the Office of the Attorney General, the Public Service Commission, our legal staff, and even including the regulator, to relook at the law. So that was the beginning. Relook at every clause to see whether it's addressing the members. So once the draft was brought into being, it was also discussed internally, including the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees are basically the rightful owners of the assets on behalf of the members. So once this was agreed, we said now we have to take it to the general public. So the general public in this case includes the direct stakeholders, which could be the teachers. It includes the non-members, any other person, including yourself. You could make a comment. So that we did in last month. We published in one of the national newspapers and invited people to come for what we call public participation, which is in line with the Constitution. So we have done public participation, part of which we are still inviting members through even this conversation, that should you have a comment, what we think should be added to make this law even better, we are still receiving contributions. So we have gone all around the country, many regions, and we are through the media, social media, inviting people to write memorandums, and we have done that invitation. So we are trying to reach out to the general public to make sure that the law that is coming into being is all-inclusive, it touches to everybody, and we are able to address the stakeholders and make it even greater.
Yes.
Yes.
The contributions are made monthly, and how do you ensure that for the government makes that without fail? And in cases where there are delays, how do you deal with that?
Let me put it this way first. The second one does not arise of delays because it was the commitment of the sponsor, which in this case is the government, to address the challenges of the unfunded civil service pension scheme, which existed under CAP 189. They made a decision to start a funded one. So we have a seamless arrangement that every month we request the National Treasury to give us the portion of the employer contribution, and we have never had a challenge of making their portion of the contribution. So we get from employers the employees' portion, and we're able to get from the government, and we're able to invest. So we have never had a challenge, and it will be very exciting that going forward under this scheme, we will never be seeing delays on pension payment because the funds are available for those members. And we need to be very careful, and members should also get to know that I'm referring to the new scheme which started in 2021.
Yes.
Those are the funds, because we invest like a bank. You're actually having your own account. So when you exit, we should be having your funds to be paid immediately. So it addresses the issue of delays, that it will not be arising in terms of releasing the funds to the members when it falls due.
Yes. You've talked about public participation, and I'd want to know, what are some of the key issues that were raised by members, and how are you addressing them?
Maybe the ones that has been raised, we are still receiving tons and tons of, or rather dozens of comments from quite a number of people. But one of the critical things the members were very, very particular is including the governance representation within the law. As it is now, we have actually provided that the unions stands in as member representations, which is in line with the Retirement Benefits Act. Quite a number of members were thinking that instead of just going to the unions, don't we have a situation where members can do direct elections? And we are trying to see how that can be accommodated. But you can imagine, if you are talking of 443,000 members, it may require a national election. So one of the key things that came out was, should we do a direct election as opposed to using the union representations that were coming out? Other members were, of course, very keen to ensure on the sustainability, the preservation of their benefits within the new act. And now we have ring-fenced the same. So those are the things that came out very clearly from the membership. And also, quite a number of members were very keen on whether it is prudent to sustain the 7.5% contribution. Some wanted to see that, well, can we do it lower? And of course, those are the comments. But we managed to explain to them and picked all those comments. All these will be consolidated together, and the provisions will be taken to Parliament, which will make the final say in terms of the amendments.
Yes. As the CEO, how do you see Public Service Superannuation Fund contributing to the government's development agenda?
Very, very, very good question. What we have actually started doing, and particularly from the time I took the office of being the CEO of this scheme, is we are focused not only on the return of the investment, but we're looking at social and impactful investments. So we are adopting the S&G within the ESG. So every investment that we are thinking about, we are saying, one, does it have an impact beyond just looking for the return? And this is very common with all the pension schemes globally. So we are looking at areas that not only speak to the ultimate return when the employees exit, but also giving a social impact to the society. And that's why we are very, very carefully looking at how to go to maybe the housing project. It may not take the model of affordable housing per se, but we should have a mix where we are able to get our own return, but at the same time, having a social impact within the society. So we have adopted an ESG framework, and more particularly, having the impactful investment so that at least we're able to support the government agenda. And another thing to mention, when I talked about our investments, large of our investments currently are within the government security. So we are providing, the government are borrowing from us. So in terms of source of funding for government, we can say we are supporting that agenda in terms of providing domestic debt to the government. Yes.
How do members register for this? Is it done through the employer, or it's just personal?
Yeah, I mean, one of the key things that we have made is with the employers, once you join any of these employers that I've mentioned, police, teachers, automatically that's the beginning of the registration. You become a member of this scheme, and we're able to get the communication from those employers. The other thing that members can do is we have a robust ICT systems within our website. So you can be able to check what your benefits are, and then if you by any chance the employer may have missed to register you, even the employees themselves or the members themselves can query and be able to regularize the same.
Yes.
But the beginning point is from the employer's perspective. Yes.
And the contribution is voluntary, not statutory.
It's statutory if you are on permanent and pensionable. If you make it voluntary, my brother, many people will not be willing to give. So long as you are on permanent and pensionable employment, you have no option but to really contribute to this scheme. And of course, you are a member by the definition of the Act.
Yes.
Yes.
You held the second.
But members are allowed to make voluntary contribution. If you, the one I'm saying is actually mandatory, is 7.5%. But if you are a member and you are comfortable that you really want to contribute beyond the 7.5%, we have also made provisions that members can make what we call additional voluntary contribution, where you can go beyond 7.5, and that is your additional funds.
Yes. You recently had a second annual general meeting. What was how was it, and what was the outcome?
Very interesting. We had our annual general meeting, the second annual general meeting for this scheme, which again is in line with the Act on 7th of June this year. And that was for the financial year that ended 2023 June. And we had a very, very good attendance at Kenya School of Government, where members came and they participated in matters of transacting within the AGM and getting the feedback. We are planning to do another annual general meeting December this year, that is for the financial year ended 30th June 2024, to cover to give report back to the members. So all this about governance, we want members to participate in the scheme. At the AGM, they can be able to raise questions and get understanding of what their scheme is. And at that point, we even offer them the declared interest that can be able to be loaded back to their accounts. Yes.
In the proposed changes, how do you see them benefiting or dealing with the existing challenges faced by members within the pension scheme?
Very well. In the proposed changes and within the acts, we are saying that, one, we will be able to be true to the provisions of the Retirement Benefits Act that when you exceed employment, you should be able to get your funds in less than 30 days, maximum 30 days. So the weighting of benefits, which has become, which unfortunately in some years had become a problem, will not be in existence on this. The other thing is the transparency, the openness, where members are able to even monitor their investments, the way they're able to monitor their contributions is an in thing in these amendments that we have put forth. And there are no contradictions. Section 50 of the current Act, we are proposing a very clear amendment so that the accrued benefits of members that are actually accrued before the commencement of this scheme is now cleared on who is responsible to pay, as opposed to putting the members in a dilemma whether to come to PSSF or go to the old civil service pension scheme. So we are making it very clear that we are responsible for contributions that has come to our scheme right from commencement to where we are. Yes.
So after these changes have been compiled and acted, when can the members now expect them to be effected?
When Parliament approves, it has to go through a process. After this public participation, we submit to the Office of Attorney General. It goes to Parliament, I want to believe so. Once Parliament passes them, it has to be ascended, I guess, by the President or through those regulations, and that becomes the effective date.
Yes. So there's not given a specific timeline that they can
I wish I could control the calendar and the timeline. I would have loved this to be done in the next 1 month.
Yes.
But again, there are other stakeholders that have to participate.
Yes.
The representation of Kenyans in terms of Parliament, who are mandated by the Constitution to amend laws, still have to exercise their right. Yes.
There's something I would want you to talk about. Have you dealt with cases where there are deceased members, and how long does it take to release their fund to their beneficiaries, and what is the process?
All right, and I will strictly talk about public service superannuation fund that we are running.
Yes.
If we are talking about if you exit from service, unfortunately, to a death of a principal member, we endeavor to work out your benefits within 30 days. But again, the challenge is sometimes we may not have the clear claimants, where members may not have even nominated while they are alive who is supposed to be paid. That creates a dilemma because it will require the Board of Trustees to exercise discretion and also spend time to make sure that we get the right person to pay. And that's why in this new dispensation we are encouraging all our members, because we don't know when that unfortunate thing will arise. We will want members to really update their records, have clarity on who their nominee is, because really matters of pension is not part of the estate. It's something that you can state your wish while you are still in existence. So the only challenge of delay could be when there is no clarity on who to pay, or there is contestation of 2 or 3 claimants. Otherwise, we should be able to pay in less than 30 days, really, because as I said, the way we operate is like a current account. We have your funds, so you should go to your bank and get your money when it when it is due. Yes.
And members are free to edit whoever is going to the next of kin aspect on that form.
Anytime you can nominate in the morning, in the evening you change your mind. You can really, it's a wish. It is the wish of the member on who becomes the beneficiary in the unfortunate scenario of passing on. Yes. So it's the member's wish.
What if in the case where a person is polygamous, has 2 wives? So
again, you can state your wish on how you want to share the portion.
So the person who is listed is the one
that will pay.
Yes.
Yes.
So now, how do you see? What is the future of the Superannuation Fund?
The future is bright. I'm telling you, it is one of the most exciting things.
Yes.
One, it is going to contribute to deepening of capital and financial markets in Kenya.
Yes.
We are talking about social impacting.
Yeah.
We are talking of the members having a dignified retirement, in the sense that they will not be waiting on when to get their funds.
Yes.
So we will restore the dignity of every member. We are also working on improving the replacement income. What was the percentage that you are earning, and what will you be earning in retirement? So the vulnerability and the fear of being suffering at old age will not actually create that stress, because we will be able to give a better or a good income post the working life.
Yes.
Yes.
Asante sana. That was our time.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
That is Dr. Jonah Ayabe, who is the CEO of the Public Service Superannuation Fund, speaking to us about the changes or the proposed changes that are supposed to happen later on. This is where we cap this conversation, but don't go too far. Victor Law is coming up next with politics. Stay with us.
Mtazamaji, tumekuandalia taarifa zinazogonga vichwa vya vyombo vya habari kutoka hapa jijini Nairobi na pia mashinani.
Wanahabari zaidi ya ubora wao wako ange kukuletea habari pindi zinapochipuka kutoka pembe zote za Kenya.
Kwenye kipindi cha Tamrini tunakuletea mazungumzo ya moja kwa moja kufafanua na kuangazia masuala yanayokuhusu wewe mtazamaji.
Kumbuka, taarifa yenye thamani daima hupokewa kwa amani.
Hivyo basi usikose kuungana nasi kila siku ya wiki.
Tukupakulie na tukutaarifu taarifa yenye mnato kwenye runinga unayoienzi. Kwenye kurunzi mashinani,
sisi DC.
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out.
Who is the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevakishwa. Sisi wakati tulikuwa tunaapishwa tukapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
We are the full package.
Oh, yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
You make me feel sexy. You make me feel irate. I'm feeling it. How about you, Sandy? Do you feel it? Oh, Lord knows that I don't want to be lonely tonight. The running horse, I don't want to be lonely tonight.
Mzee.
Utiaji.
Wewe, washtakiwa?
Wewe utiaji itakumaliza wewe mzee. Na wewe hata chupi unaiba ya nini? Na wewe si msichana. Wewe ni mjinga ya wapi hata wewe?
Kwa nini hiyo miaka yote ikawa ni siku hiyo tu? Umetuitania polisi.
Ninyi wote ni kama mlirokwa.
Wewe nyamaza.
Na mali si tulikuja tukakumwagia takataka.
Hapana.
Hapana, si ndio? Na usiniongeleshe na malingo kwa sababu hata mimi niko na malingo. Wewe ulikuwako tukienda kumwaka hizo takataka?
Si ndio?
Ulikuwa tukienda kumwaka?
Mimi alikuwa hiyo ndio
aliwashiki. Wewe maacha kuongea ukweli.
Ngoja.
Unafutanga bangi.
Tumii bangi. Sasa ni swali gani hilo?
Maana anaongea vitu za ujinga, yani mtu mzima.
Wewe ukimwangalia huyu anavuta bangi.
By the way, nothing gets me pumped up like today's lesson. I hope teacher is coming.
Now you want me to speed out my business strategy, sisidio? Unaniona nikikaa paka ama nini? Do you want this dance or not?
Fala, what is wrong with you? Julian, don't mind him, he's just like a porcupine. 1 year, how many cows were you fooling around with?
What? I did no such thing. You did no such thing. It is my word against yours.
Wow, black men. Typical Kinyanjui. Wake me up when all this is over. When I'm wiser and I'm older.
Right, good morning. Welcome back now. It's now time to get into the politics. Being Wednesday, it's now time for the Viewpoint. And time shifted a bit because we have to program this show accordingly, but that is how it's done. All right, so let's get the show on the road. And my guests are already in studio. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being patient. It's not the way you're used to it, but that's how it's done. Wally Musosion, former Secgen Nat and former nominated member of Parliament, already in studio. Kevin Osido is Executive Director of County Governance Watch, joining us in studio. A very brilliant brain, as well as Deputy Governor of Machakos County, Honorable Francis Mwangangi. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show again today. Gentlemen, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Walimu Sosion, when students don't respond in class, what do you do psychologically?
No, you walk around the class, prompt them, because maybe your communication skills are not connecting with the students.
So my communication skills did not connect with you.
Maybe you are still absent, but you prompted very well.
All right.
Now you've provoked engagement.
Yes.
Now there is what you call engaging learning process. So sometimes you walk around the classroom as a teacher, you cause what you call stimulus variation, so that you can evoke constant and continuous reaction by students.
You know, Victor, in class you call it student stimulation, but in governance we call it public participation and civic engagement.
So what did I do in this case? Because now you're confusing me. Okay, welcome.
You've done all.
I've learned both, and I've done
They say
both.
there's many teaching methods as there are many teachers.
Absolutely.
So there's no standard yardstick for
And talk of education, gentlemen, we cannot start the show without giving a message of condolence. A majority of people who died last week, it's never too late to send a message of condolence. The president also issued a directive, 3 days of mourning, which lapsed a few days ago. And as we speak, many parents are still grappling with the fact that they have not found their children. Kenya Power gave a statement yesterday saying that it's not their fault that happened, and the director of that school, the proprietor of that school, was also questioned by the authorities yesterday. I just need to give you a minute each. In your own, because you're all parents, again, we are all Kenyans, and we feel the pain of losing young souls. At the age of 9 to 12 years, 21 of them, that is young souls too many. Let me start with you, DJ.
Thank you, Victor, for this invite. Number two is allow me to send passionate, heartfelt condolences to pupil of Hillside and Darasha Academy in Kieni, Nyeri County. It's a difficult time for the parents, for the school, and even for the country, because maybe we might have lost someone who could have grown to become the celebrated economist, the celebrated professional doctor, researcher, or even a president. I sent my condolences to them as a parent and as a leader in this country. I think in many countries this is a thing of past. There must have been lapse somewhere. I commend for the first time the government for moving so fast to institute a multi-agency investigating team. And I hope, together with the regulation and laws that exist, what will come out of that report, it needs to be implemented. Secondly, I think it's very important also we not only wait until a disaster happens so that we can start moving around to check whether our schools are okay. We need to have a schedule so that we know for a boarding primary or for a boarding facility in this country, they must meet these specific standards, set standards. So as I send my condolences, allow me also to also send my heartfelt condolences to the people of Lamu for losing their deputy governor who passed on last week. We pray and we stand by the family, relatives, friends, and the people of Lamu, and also the country at large. It is a challenging time. But also, when you see some of these tragedies happen, tunasema kwa Kiswahili ajali haina kinga, lakini some can be prevented.
Some can be prevented.
Some can be prevented.
That reminds you of...
Even slaughtering of our youths and forced abductions in a civilized democratic society like Kenya, and then you see people running to join such an administration, you are left wondering. But we pray to God. Some people like Paul saw the light. One day, one time, they will see the light.
One day, one time, they'll see the light. All right, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Victor, and the team behind this very informative show. Indeed, my heartfelt condolences to the families that have lost their children and their kin, and to the country at large. Victor, this is not the first time that we are having such a very heinous fire in our learning institutions. It's neither the first time nor is it, in fact, the last we are having multi-agency committees or task forces. The question that comes to mind is, what happened? And I believe that that's a question that most parents and Kenyans would wish to be answered, and that the institutions that form this multi-agency team will be able to respond to that question, because we have had similar incidences in the past.
Yeah.
Too much rush, rush engagements that take place. We even see the president headed there. Now we've seen the deputy president. A very big team of national and county governments agencies. But ultimately, that's where it ends. It is important that we get to the bottom of these issues and amend the messes, therefore, that probably contribute to this kind of fires. It is also important that we come up with policies, Victor, that will be able to guide our institutions of learning. It is not enough that when this kind of actions take place, then we see government coming up and out very strongly and loudly to be able to respond. We need to see risk management strategies being put in place. We need to see the Ministry of Education and the wider stakeholders in the education sector coming out strongly to work in a much more multi-partnership model to be able to even foresee and come up with mechanisms that will be able to address these kind of fires when they happen. And it's not just about fires, Victor. Today we are talking about fires. The other weeks ago we were talking about flooding in institutions of higher learning. We need to think through a broader spectrum of engagement, particularly with regards to risks in institutions of learning. I am looking forward to seeing how, of course, government will be able to also set up mechanisms or units where parents and the families of those who lost their loved ones can be able to be provided with psychosocial support, psychological counseling, because losing a young one at this particular age is so painful, and particularly given the manner in which this happened. And we are hoping that even as other agencies of government like Kenya Power are already, absolving themselves from blame, quote unquote, but that we will be able to come up with really what caused this particular fire, and therefore come up with mechanisms that can be able to guide schools. I've seen now schools being, visited, lots of inspections going on. But we are hoping that beyond these visits that are aired on our TV stations, we'll be able to see action that is going to inform proper engagement with education stakeholders, and largely to provide infrastructure that can be able to safeguard our learners in schools.
This reminds us of years ago, Kianguli boys, DG, is in your county, 67 boys lost their lives. And anytime you pass through just outside that gate, that memory is still fresh. But you'd imagine a dormitory holding over 50 students or even 100 students. Somebody would think of what kind of recommendation that would be put in place, that construction of such kind of buildings meet some required standards. When an architect draws a building, for example, like this one, it has to meet some certain standard. But why is it that in schools, Sosion, with your background, dormitories will always be dormitories? You have got 4, 5, 6 doors, 3, 4 doors, an emergency one, and windows, and that is just that. We don't have fire hydrants, we don't have fire extinguishers, we don't have, fire sensors that will automatically extinguish fire. Why? I mean,
even as we condole, we shouldn't be condoling if we did the right things. And because we didn't do the right things, we must take responsibility. And someone must take full responsibility for this. We can't engage in sympathy activities for a few days, and then the story is forgotten, we move on, we get into another one. Let's remember, because if we talk about tragedies in primary school,
sure.
Before we talk about fires in secondary school, Kianguli, which of course I know the DG lost his brother-in-law. You see, we get affected. But with this one, it started with a private school here in is it Kawangware?
Yes.
Yeah, a building collapsed, a story building collapsed. And when we checked...
Precious Talent.
Yes, Precious Talent Academy. When we checked that private academy, the building was not approved by the Public Works. These are buildings being constructed outside the prescribed provision. They don't meet the minimum standards, and children lost lives. In Russia, the dormitory is made of timber, and it is congested, and it was locked from outside. So really, we were setting up...
This as per the police report.
We were setting up those children for roasting. That brings in now the question you are asking. Does the government have set minimum standards in terms of the quality of infrastructure for dormitories? It does. And I don't think timber is one of them. I want somebody to show me that dormitories made of timber is one of them. And this brings to question and to fore non-compliance and non-enforcement of regulations by the Ministry of Education. Why would such a dormitory exist even for a day? Children sleep, they're all congested, yet there is a ministry that regulates. Why do we allow it in the first place? It was allowed in Kawangware, we lost lives, we are allowing it again. And you see, these are unscrupulous businessmen using our children by putting up low value and below standard infrastructure that are risky for children simply to make money. And I think by this time, the proprietor of that particular school should be in jail. And whoever is supposed to be responsible at the Ministry of Education also, who's supposed to enforce, should be in jail. We should not be talking about running around and telling us how many bags of rice has been donated. Tell us what criminal action have you taken? And you have blamed electricity. I'm happy Kenya Power. And Kenya Power should tell us in all these schools where there are fires, tell us whether really it is this electrical fault. I don't know how an electrical fault really can cause fire. And why is it that these electrical faults are only common in the dormitories, in schools, and they come to life when schools open? The thing is, we have a problem in our school, but for this particular of Endarasha, there must be tougher criminal action. Now that the Kenya Power has absorbed itself, the DCI and the DPP should tell us exactly what happened. Why were these children locked in the dorm? Why? And why do we have wooden dormitories all over the country? In fact, if we check our school system, where our children are kept, you will not even want your own child to sleep in that particular place. The banning of dormitories across the country is a reaction by students. They're not comfortable. We did what we call 100% transition, a policy just to demonstrate to the world that the government is doing a good thing. But then we'll not check where these students are sleeping. And we need to get to that. Then number two, and this the Comptroller and Auditor General has given a report that our schools are not ready. And this should be an eye-opener to the Ministry of Education. The Quality Assurance and Standard is a regulatory body within the Ministry of Education that is supposed to check and quality assure and inspect every school. That department was deliberately collapsed by the previous ministers who must take responsibility.
I ask a question.
Article 64 of the Basic Education Act, which the court ordered the other day, that the minister appoint the Education Standards and Quality Assurance Council within 60 days. How do we have a law that has existed from 2012 up to 2024 and it is not enforced? Why do we allow ministers of education to choose which part of the Basic Education Act to comply with and which one to violate? And in fact, non-implementation of this clause has led to exacerbation and deterioration of safety of all our schools, whether private or public. And somebody should be able to answer. The Minister for Education, the new minister, has a big duty and interest to implement this. And those who fail to do so should be able to answer.
Very good.
The whole Quality Assurance and Standard Department has been there.
Thank you.
And we need it to come back to life.
That is in line with what I have on the front page of the Star newspaper, Mr. Sosion. It's just here, more or less the same. This is Auditor General Gadongo. Why many schools are death traps? That's why what the Auditor General is coming out with. Why many schools are death traps. And the story says that most don't have the right equipment and tools to handle fire. Exactly that's what you've said here. Osido, in terms of governance and all this, let's just bring it back to where it's supposed to be. Many don't have right equipment and tools to handle fire.
You see, Victor, right equipment and tools requires an investment. And that investment is a financial investment. And beyond that, you
From the side of government or school?
From the side of government.
Okay.
Yeah, and probably that's where the Auditor General is actually coming up and saying, our priorities could be quite different. We are investing in the wrong things. And is a conversation that I'm sure we've had here with you over and over again about how come every time we have a new person at the Ministry of Education in the name of a cabinet secretary, the policies are normally largely personified and personalized.
Yeah.
For instance, painting school buses yellow. Tomorrow somebody will say, I don't like that yellow color. Can you paint them red? Or once you have the yellow, can we see a green, you know? So the priorities around how we invest in our education sector, and particularly equipment, really needs to change. And in that change, we have to go back to looking at what happens beyond the audits that are currently going on. In Nairobi, for example, I saw in some quarters where they are saying that it's only Westland School that has a fire extinguisher in the dormitory among some of the public schools that were visited. And you ask yourself, really, what happens around the prioritization of risk management and risk strategies when it comes to disaster issues like fire, for example? Can't the school and government consider having a checklist where we say, before you launch or open up a school or a dormitory, for instance, these are the basic things that you must be able to have. A ramp, for example, if you have children with the disabilities, in the school.
Yes.
Do you have a ramp, and how do they access one point of the school to the other? Do you have proper playing grounds? Do you have fire extinguishers? And beyond that particular checklist, Victor, we also need to look at, for instance, drills that are done in schools. You can have those equipment, but there is no one who knows how to operate them.
Exactly.
Are the children able, the learners able, to even light up a fire extinguisher and use it appropriately?
Let's take a break. All of us went through school, and so life will continue like that. And the question is, if such kind of precautions are not taken, then we are quoting more disasters even in the years to come. DG, according to a report here by the Auditor General, this one paints a picture in one of the schools in your county. In the new audit, I read it, the Board of Management of Machakos Girls has been put in a spot for ignoring warnings by public works officers on the safety of buildings at the institution. Are you aware of this? You can answer that when you come back.
Yes.
After break. Can we?
Yes.
All right. Let's take a break, but before then, how about we take a look at the weather forecast for today?
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with your music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
By the way, nothing gets me pumped up like today's lesson. I hope teacher is coming.
Now you want me to spit out my business strategy. Sisidio, unaniona nikikaa paka ama nini? Do you want this dance or not?
Fala, what is wrong with you? Julian, don't mind him, he's just like a porcupine. 1 year, how many cows were you fooling around with?
What? I did no such thing.
You didn't know such thing. It is my word against yours.
Wow, black men. Typical Kinyanjui. Wake me up when all this is over. When I'm wiser and I'm older.
I keep believing that one day they'll bring us together when they've shown in more ways than one. Whenever I'm near you, Sandy, you make me feel sexy, you make me feel irate. I'm feeling it. How about you, Sandy? Do you feel it? Oh, Lord knows that I don't want to be lonely tonight. The running horse, I don't want to be lonely tonight. I don't want to wait and beg for your love. I don't want to wait and beg for your love.
Right, and welcome back. Now, very quick, let me take you through the front page of local day list before we get back to the discussion here. Why Raila MPs skipped Ruto meeting? That is on the front page of the Daily Nation. Why Raila MPs skipped Ruto meeting? That is what's on the front page of the Daily Nation. You can take a look at that newspaper. It says that, is it a case of silent rebellion here? Some ODM members of parliament from Nairobi boycotted a State House meeting with President William Ruto on Monday, and now it says that it's exposing simmering tensions and a silent rebellion against a recent deal that brought opposition Chief Raila Odinga and his party into a broad-based union with the ruling Kenya Kwanza administration. You can take a look at that story on page 4 and 5. It wasn't us. Police deny killing 3 in night shootout. The men's bullets-riddled bodies were taken to the mortuary yesterday morning by police officers who insisted that they knew nothing about the deaths. And now, fresh wave of school unrest sparks alarm, something that we're talking about here. And it also says that over 100 schools sent students home for fear that they would damage school property when they demanded to be allowed to go back home during the recent teacher strike. Is it a case there? And so it's a case of fresh wave of school unrest, sparking alarm over the what's happening. On the front page of the Standard, very quickly, make or break for Ruto in cash crisis. That is what is here. Make or break for Ruto in cash crisis. Explainer: if law is struck out, Kenya will suffer unprecedented financial crisis and lead to a default on national debt. The government warned as it scrambled a vigorous appeal at the Supreme Court to overturn an appellate court's decision, even as respondents said statute is fatally flawed. Still on the front page, ODM succession wars explode as more enter fray again. There's a section of ODM leaders who fronted James Orengo, that is governor of Siaya, to be to replace ODM leader Raila Odinga. Mount Kenya this way, Mount Kenya that way, again still there. And gentlemen, we are waiting for that big debate, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. I don't know how it's going to be, and I think it's going to go to the wire. Let's come back here and talk about the issue of the education. Now that we are talking about, I'll come back to the headlines shortly. But DG, I asked a question before we took a break. Let's talk about that issue. That Machakos Girls, there's an audit by the Auditor General that says that Machakos Girls has been put in a spot for ignoring warnings by Public Works of Public Works officers on the safety of buildings at the institution. The Ministry of Public Works, in a report sent to the school about 4 years ago, condemned the school's old buildings. Some premises are over 100 years old, the auditor said. This is a national school.
It is not only that school.
Yes.
There are many. There are many across the county. There are many across the country. And generally, I would wish to say this Quality and Standards Council under the Ministry of Education, I think it should be made independent. I did not expect Kenya Power to take responsibility of what happened in Nyeri or elsewhere. They will always come out to defend themselves, and they look good when we know how their services are. We need an independent body that has expertise in some of these areas that can go and maybe engage Minister of Public Works and interrogate that report. Then from that point of view, as an independent, well-resourced body, it can now come in and maybe engage the school. If this was something that was taken 4 years ago, I don't understand up to date, nothing has happened. I think by having that independent body in place, we will be in a position to address many of these challenges. Point number 2. Somebody, a very good writer, has come up with a very good material on, is called Mike Lofgren. He has come up with a book called The Deep State. Deep State, he talks of the fall of the Constitution and the rise of shadow government. Under it, there are cartels and a lot of other things. I think that is what is happening in this country, where we see the public service, it's like there, it is not there, but somebody else is trying to advance. We need to go back to our constitution, and we need to adhere to it. As a public officer, you need to, even you yourself as a person, you hold yourself to account. You ask yourself, why am I in this office? What is expected of me? If I ask myself those questions, I have the right environment. I'm free to execute my mandate without being micromanaged from somewhere. We will be in a position to deal with some of these so-called issues that are leading us to disaster after disaster.
How is the management of Machakos Girls?
There is a board of directors. Board of management. And then down there is the principal, who is the secretary to that board, to that BOM. And then there is teaching and non-teaching staff, then students. Okay? But if they know somebody somewhere is watching, this report will be taken very seriously. This is a public institution. I expect the decision-making actions to have somebody to respond to them. I expect when this report came out, I expected by then somebody will draw a roadmap on how to ensure what is recommended is implemented. It is not a question of today we have Changulis, tomorrow we have Hillside Academy, and then the life continues. It's not normal. We are not hearing those things in our neighboring countries. We are not hearing these things elsewhere in the world. Why Kenya? All through. Yet, we are prided to have the most educated leaders in high positions. It beats logic. I don't understand.
Promise me one thing, that you will make a trip to the school and probably just take a look at that report, if it's still there, and probably just interrogate now that it's under your jurisdiction, perhaps.
One, it's not practically possible. The only thing is because I know the leaders, I can maybe place a call to them. Sure. I don't want to make this thing a political or visit a specific school when I know there are several.
There's already.
I sat with the principal, Machakos Boys, a very renowned and effective administrator. And I can tell you it is not different from what we are hearing from just Machakos Girls. It is not different. Actually, it could be worse. Because that is where likes of Mutula Kilonzo went to school. And those buildings, even by looking at them, you can see these are condemned buildings. So something somewhere, we need a national policy to guide some of these things. And we have a roadmap in place, not necessarily Machakos Girls. There are so many. We need to address across so that we have one way moving forward on now to have Kenyans working in those institutions, or now to have our students and pupils more safer. Even anyone visiting those, even teaching, teaching staff, non-teaching staff, to be safe. So in this case, I don't recommend either myself or my boss when she comes to pay a visit to either Machakos Boss, or to any school. But we need, remember, despite the fact that we are leaders in that particular county, education is still domiciled with the national government. So in this case, doesn't mean we cannot do anything. But we need a policy from at national level that will guide moving forward how to handle this.
We'll wait because this committee is already formed to take a look at what's happening in the country. Kevin.
Victor, I just wanted to make an addition to what Bwana DG has said, and probably two things. That one, the wave of the Gen Z kusalimiana, we need to see that devolved further into other sectors, particularly education. And that citizens should be willing, ready, and available to just walk into any school and ask the management, can I see your washrooms? You know, can I see your pit latrines? Can I see your dormitories? Can I see the safety measures? Because I think that sometimes we make assumptions, and this assumption is also validated and exacerbated by our leaders, and particularly around what I would call equity. To the extent that certain schools are considered very, honorable and very nice and very proper for, children of the who is who's in the society, as opposed to other schools, and particularly generally the public schools in this country. The moment we'll begin to see citizens taking their own sovereign responsibility to walk into schools, and even parents, the schools where our children are, if we can walk over there. I went to a school where now my daughter goes to, and there was no CCTV, and I recommended to the principal, please, one of the security measures that you need to put in place are the following. 1, 2, 3, 4. And when we went there for the last parents meeting, we were actually told that CCTV installation is one of the priorities now that the school has amidst other priorities. And so my encouragement and exhortation to Kenyan citizens is be ready and available to walk into any school. And then salimia watu. If something is not right, take a photo. What we teach in social accountability. Take photos of those pit latrines that are not even inhabitable. Take photos of those dormitories where there are no exits. You have dormitories up to 4th floor, Victor. And you talked about the grills, the windows are locked with grills.
Yeah.
How will children, I've seen reports of this little boy who saved 2 of his colleagues at Hillside, you know, and he had to jump, and then he realized, oh, I can save some people, and he went back. Imagine if we were able to build the capacity of as many children and learners in schools to be able to do that. And so it is my request that Kenyans, let's not think through education as a reserve, or certain education facilities as a reserve for specific people. Walk in and hold people accountable. And number 2, so that I close on this, Mheshimiwa has said that he might not walk into Machakos schools, Machakos girls' school, which I agree with. But also remember that constitutionally we have something called the Schedule 4 functions that sets certain schools for national government and some schools for county governments. We need to see a mechanism of intergovernmental engagement and relationships taking place between county governments and national governments, so that the directors of any school, and especially given the kind of infrastructure that we are talking about, any school, whether it's public or whether it's national or county government, can be able to walk in and advise, issue advisories, and just talk to people. And I don't know what happened to when we were in school. Our teachers used to tell us, sikuwa shuleni sababu nilienda mkutano wa walimu, where they would go and, you know, just share successes, challenges that they have, and then jointly agree on those issues. We need to see these shrinking gaps or haters between public and private schools, national and county schools. So of course that's a constitutional issue, but I don't think that there is any problem in sharing stories of successes of schools that are excelling, even in infrastructural investment, even as we do the same for academic performance. Because we are so good at sharing our grades, sharing what we are doing. Oh, this school is going to visit the other school. But we also want to see education management or schools management bodies or boards also going to see what other schools that do not have these perennial fires are doing, and what they can be able to do to make the safety and security of our learners better.
Mheshimiwa Sosion, when you respond to that, we all remember the late Mishuki, a classic example. When the matatu industry was, you know, was not performing well, the late Mishuki stood firm and came with Mishuki rules that we are still following to date. To date. Posthumously, we can still celebrate Mishuki because of the kind of sanity that he brought on the transport system. We also came about, Professor Magoha Matiang'i, who made sure that all school buses to be painted yellow. That is a rule that we are still following to date. Why don't we have another national regulation or order to ensure that all dormitories in all schools across the country have gone through a revamp of structural order, that every school must have a fire hydrant? We have piped, you know, fire extinguisher in schools.
I think, Victor,
is it hard to do that? I'm just asking.
I think, Victor, you are proposing what is already contained in the regulations.
Then why are we not getting it right?
The question is they're not being enforced. And you've talked of Michuki. We now need a Michuki approach in the education sector.
Then it's so sad that these things exist.
To make it work. And very quickly, just to summarize these opinions and what is expected, Kenya is supposed to deliver equitable, inclusive, quality education for all. Equitable. So the principle here is equality. And all schools are supposed to be the same. That is one fundamental principle. Number 2, the fact that county governments are not constitutionally having any role, I think is an issue of interpretation. The laws have to be cleaned up so that infrastructure of schools can be fully devolved and be managed by county governments. That is a practice all over the world.
So that the
governor here
can release a fire extinguisher.
The governor here can release a fire extinguisher. The governor here can supervise the construction of schools and all that, and ensure that the standards are clear. We are in a devolved era, and we cannot have everything centralized within one ministry. The nationalization of education was to the respect of the curriculum, the policies, and teachers. But there are certain things that technically even national government cannot manage, like infrastructure. Now that county government has more votes and can mobilize resources and can collect their own funds, the basic service that they must be able to give is education and is about infrastructure. And that is why we don't need to promote privatization in education where unscrupulous individuals have entered the market and are running institutions that do not meet the minimum regulations. And from the question that you are asking, why do we have guidelines on safety and they're not implemented? This department called SCAC, and this is why I'm urgently calling that there has to be establishment of that.
What is that department?
Education Standard and Quality Assurance. There's provided for under Article 64 of the Basic Education Regulations. The other day, the court ordered the CS, the new CS, to establish it within 60 days. This has to be done, and also proper panels established at the counties. And those panels must work with public health. Those panels must also work with auditors and inspect literally every school. And any school that does not meet the standards should be closed down, including dormitories that do not meet safety standards. Dormitories where there are congestion, that should also be dealt with.
Government schools. So that also include government schools.
It does, as long as it is a school, whether public or private. There should be no discrimination as to compliance with the law. Compliance with the law is all schools. It doesn't matter whether it's public or private. We need the re-engineering of policies within the sector and within the country and within the mindset of Kenya, because we have practiced discrimination where all of us who are seated here, we can take our children to private schools and we leave the public schools to collapse. With the advent of CBC, which other than containing several aspects of competencies of the 21st century, the other one is promoting value-based education. Value-based education is a continuum on daily basis between home and school. And then probably we need a law and a regulation here to ensure that no child goes to boarding until a certain age, maybe up to 15 years, so that then we have all students on day-based education, maybe with the exception of ASAL areas, special need education children, and a few special cases that can be identified and known, so that then we ensure that there is a role between home and school, and children are actually safe up to that age, and we get rid of this frenzy of boarding schools, which ends up being a big kill of businesses, of procurement, of making money. We don't need to promote this type of business. We must pivot back. Victor, 10 years ago, the global competitiveness of Kenya in education in Africa, in terms of two things, quality delivery and access, we were number one. But 10 years down the line, because we have allowed bad policies to reign supreme, we are not inspecting our schools, we are dumping money. In fact, the money that is deployed to education is enough to educate our children without anybody paying fees.
Comfortable.
We were number one, but now we have dropped up to number 7, and we are likely to move down. And that's why I agree. We now need Michuki approach in the education sector. This and the Russia thing, the proprietor should be in jail if we are talking about compliance with the law and violation of regulations. And not just the proprietor, because that building has been in existence within the knowledge of the Ministry of Education. Somebody in the Ministry of Education should also be in jail. We must do that. We must punish those who are paid the violation of laws, particularly as it relates to the
so
safety
sad
of
that
our
I asked a question, and Sosion, under your knowledge, the rules and regulations and all these things still exist. So it means the issue of implementation is where the problem is.
And who is this not implementing? Why are they in office? Why are they earning? Why do we live as if things are normal?
Victor, I think that the cabinet, the Parliamentary Committee on Education, the National Assembly Committee on Education needs to probably summon, quote unquote,
I think let's get out of Parliament. Let this now be. Let this be criminalized.
Can I make my point?
The DPP and DCI for now.
Can I make my point?
Because
please?
the moment we go through Parliament, we will be normalizing and opening a table of arguments, and we bury.
You know where I come
think
from?
it is time we criminalize.
Where I come from?
I'm pleading with you. Let us criminalize it.
The young ones respect their elders. That when they speak, we keep quiet.
And the elders respect
and that
the young
it is expected now in the 21st century that when the young ones speak, the elders also can give them a listening ear. So that the Parliamentary Committee on Education summons the Cabinet Secretary to answer to these questions. Because I was, and I've always been very uncomfortable with some of the vetting questions when we are appointing or giving certain people very high-level positions, like now CS. And in this panel, we are raising issues up to over 12 years ago. Why is there no implementation on critical issues, yet somebody is being paid by taxpayers' monies, and this individual and these individuals can respond to these questions? Even as we seek to criminalize people and to put them in jail, can we give them a listening ear to answer to certain questions around why are certain key expectations not being met? Why are implementation processes not being done? Because through that mechanism, then we can be able to know, Bwana DG and Mheshimiwa Association, where there are loose ends. Because this will continue, and we have said it. As I finish on this, you mentioned 100 schools that closed because the learners asked to be released during the strikes, which presents the question of stress and mental health, Victor. Schools should also now get ready to provide safe havens. I know that during our time, we used to have guiding and counseling masters or teachers. I don't know whether they still exist, I think so. The matrons and all those others need to be empowered and probably special safety nets put in schools where an ailing learner, a child can walk in and say, I am uncomfortable with something I saw at home. I have heard so-and-so planning a strike, or I saw so-and-so carrying something that looks like a matchbox. And that when they make these kind of reports, a conversation around mental health, around stress management can be had. And through that, Victor, I think those will provide small, soft spaces where we can be able to address some of these concerns even before they escalate up to these levels.
Great. Let's take a break.
Before we take a break, please allow me 1 minute to say the following.
Can I just come back with that? We are on top of the time.
Okay.
All right, I'll come back to you that. We'll be right back with more. Stay with us.
Mtazamaji, tumekuandalia taarifa zinazogonga vichwa vya vyombo vya habari kutoka hapa jijini Nairobi na pia mashinani.
Wanahabari zaidi ya ubora wao wako ange kukuletea habari pindi zinapochipuka kutoka pembe zote za Kenya.
Kwenye kipindi cha Tamrini, tunakuletea mazungumzo ya moja kwa moja kufafanua na kuangazia masuala yanayokuhusu wewe mtazamaji.
Kumbuka, taarifa yenye thamani daima hupokewa kwa amani.
Hivyo basi usikose kuungana nasi kila siku ya wiki.
Tukupakulie na tukutaarifu taarifa yenye mnato kwenye runinga unayoienzi. Kwenye kurunzi mashinani,
sisi DC.
You make me feel sexy. You make me feel I
young generation awakens on Y254, the leading youth TV station in Kenya. We treat you to current affairs, entrepreneurship, health, and human interest conversations.
It's art, it's culture.
Movies, gossip and trends, sports,
Drama.
We bring you a vibe like no other, straight to your living room.
To keep you informed, inspired, entertained, and most of all, refreshed.
We are such a vibe.
Y254. Imagine.
All right, welcome back. So, you wanted to say something before we took a break? Kindly.
One is I still hold the opinion that we need these standards and quality regulatory authority to be established soonest, either through an executive order or through an act of parliament. We need that independent, well-resourced agency to be in place. That will bring the Department of the Interior and even Education at the very lowest level, at the sublocational level, to life and to ensure the right things are done. Number two, for us, I think the world and specifically Kenyans, we have not learned from the COVID-19 effects. When that things happened, the world was closed. Airspace was closed. Waterways were closed. Everything came to a standstill. And you are told to now stay where you are. I have a radical proposal. Can we have anyone, Mwangangi included, ensure if you are being paid, maintained by taxpayers' money, if it is education, can you go to a public university? Can you go to a public college? Can you go to a primary, which are public? Can we make good use of our public institutions so that this business of I run down a certain department and I take, when I have malaria, I go to the top-notch hospitals, comes to an end. We make sure if Mwangangi, you have malaria, please go to the nearest public dispensary. Go feel the pain of the Kenyan people who go there and do not find drugs. The other one is for us to address all these things. And I want for the first time, I'm a person who speaks pro-devolution. Can we, for the first time, as a country, have a conversation with a clear mind on how to move resources from center, practically from center to the grassroots? How do you do it? The funds like GAV, funds like NGCDF, they need to share at least 15% of the national revenue. Why can't we have NGCDF go up to 10, 12, 15%? Because that money goes anywhere and it will go a long way in addressing what we are discussing here. Why can't we have 50% go to devolution? And then the remaining 35%, it remains at the central. Because the reason why we are fighting to have everything centralized is because of the cartels, because of the high kickbacks, because of the corruption and mismanagement. of some of our section. And by the way, I need to make a disclaimer. We have very good public officers in this country, but we have a few others who just come in to loot, literally to loot. So in this case, for the first time, we can now place the country before our... It is the country we speak pro-Kenyans, not our selfish interest. Who said in this country, you must be a leader top there to own land everywhere across the country. Yet, when you die, you will just have a small grave. Who said you must be the richest? If in a county, in the event you are a deputy governor there, you must be a deputy governor to be a millionaire, to be a billionaire. Where did this notion come from? Because that is our source of our problems.
Yeah.
If today every public officer, every civil servant, everybody who gains from the money from the public is prohibited from taking your children, your relative to a private academies. If you can't go to any medical facility which is private, I'm telling you, we will concentrate on offering effective and efficient public services.
Equality.
Yes.
That's what Session was talking about, equality.
Yes. And we fight. This business of you are elected and you must get, you must go be somebody somewhere to go and effect a law, that must come to an end. And we must have a point of departure when it comes to division of resources in this country. Today, as I sit here, and these leaders here can confirm, in the last 3 months, no single cent has come from the central point. Yet, the national government officials, all of them, including members of, including everybody, have already been paid. We at the county just strangle. You are a second thought. Who? Yet somebody somewhere, seated somewhere, is under violation of the Constitution. We have 48 governments in this country, as per this Constitution. It is not me. It is the Constitution.
Yeah.
Why do you seek to go to a public officer if you are not going to stand there and implement fully the Constitution, which some of us sought to protect? So in this case, Victor, my take would be, it is all these things we are discussing because we have deviated from adhering, from implementing, from sticking, from following our Constitution. Our constitutionalism in this country is dying. And it is dying because of the kind of leaders that we have. It is as simple as that.
You know, you're saying that, and Kevin, as the chief executive of the County Governor's Watch, must be cringing wherever he is.
And I am Victor, because Mheshimiwa is saying all the right things. Last week, or a few days ago, we commemorated 14 years of this Constitution of Kenya 2010. What did that mean to us? What does that mean to government, institutions, and agencies? And you see, when we were growing up many years ago, of course we still are, being a public servant, a state officer, used to be a very honorable thing. I remember when people would be hired as teachers, our village members would celebrate. When people would be hired as medical doctors for public offices or public health institutions, people would celebrate because it would be like, you know, now go and do what you have been taught to do. But Victor, we have eroded public service to be so personified and so personal that people, a number of those who are in the public service today, walk in there to only go and get or to mint what they can be able to mint. But narrowing that down to devolution, honestly, and if you look at Schedule 4, most of those functions that are there, over 14 plus, have been given to counties. But the resources are not following functions. And it is so sad that for more than 3+ months now, county governments have not received resources. The Council of Governors is always talking about this, always making pressers, always begging. They are seemingly begging, you know, National Treasury and the national government to do a number of issues. One, release the funds to counties. Number two, secede functions that are not yours and take them to county governments. And their primary core functions, health, Victor. You know, as per the Constitution, the Ministry of Health only has one responsibility, and that responsibility is for organization of national policy regarding health. But every day, we see national government, the Minister of Health from national government, rushing into counties to do what you don't know. The president is over-obsessed with affordable housing. It is not your responsibility by this constitution. Housing, urban development, all these things are county government functions. So when you read, for instance, that ODM MPs refused, what did the headline say? Refused to accompany the president. They are doing the right thing. Because until we realize that there are functions that have been set for county governments and for national governments, and that the president will be highly celebrated if he works very well with local leaders, because that is where the rubber is meeting the road. That is where services are being delivered. That is where the people who require the utmost service delivery are actually domiciled. So siphoning all these resources and holding them at the national level to be able to be seen to be doing something, Victor, is not going to help the Kenya Kwanza government. Let them work closely with county governments, and when the law says release resources, please release those resources. There are institutions, Victor, like IBEC, I'm sure Mheshimiwa sits in IBEC, that is given the responsibility to ensure that there is peaceful, harmonious, and indeed constitutional disbursement of resources to counties. Why haven't IBEC met to discuss these serious issues that are affecting devolution? You know, we have the Council of Governors meeting every day, and we have the devolution and governance civil society organizations like County Governance Watch and all of us that are every day advocating for protection of both the Constitution and devolution. But why are we seeing the government, particularly the national government, silent? We are asking the president, please calm down, Zakayo Ashuke, to counties and empower the counties, particularly from the level of releasing the resources. And I'm calling the president because when we were looking for the CS for Treasury, that is where the money sits, he's the one who actually nominated and appointed the person. So if he makes a phone call to Treasury and asks, what is this thing I'm hearing about, county monies? There is going to be a very proper conversation to take place. So the monies are released and services are
I want to finish this so
Victor,
that I get
Victor,
into...
before you ask the question you wanted to ask, I know Mheshimiwa Sosioni wants to come in. And just 1 minute. How, from here, if I have malaria, for example, how will I go and face a doctor who has not been paid for 3 months? How demotivated is that person really? Is he not more stressed than the patient he is attending or she is attending? How again, look at another scenario. Kevin is talking about IBEC, and I agree with him. But here, we have a chair of IBEC who is being undermined left, right, center.
And that is the deputy president.
And that is the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. It is in public knowledge. Tell me any policy, any decision, IBEC has sat, agreed, and it has been implemented fully. I've represented my county and my boss in some of those meetings. And we just talk. Nowadays, you can even summon some of these officers and they don't turn up at all. And it is not, the issue are not, the people are not differentiating His Excellency, Honorable Gachagua, and the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. The person and the office. Well, if we cannot respect him as a person, why can't we respect the office? So I'm telling you, the issue of constitutionalism in this country is key.
And not just constitutionalism. Constitutionalism, the rule of law, and transparent governance. That is where we fail in many institutions.
Yes.
And then we added with incompetencies. And then on top of incompetencies, entrenched cartels.
Where does that one come in?
Of course, they are there. It does exist. But then, if I may pivot back to education, because we are talking generally, these education standards and quality assurance, it is provided in the Basic Education Act. And we placed it with Honorable Mutula Kilonzo in 2012 because we were foreseeing an education system that is properly regulated. The regulator of education operations is quality assurance. It regulates what the minister does. It regulates what the teachers do in school. It regulates what the boards of management do. It informs. Without which, then we are running an unregulated education system. And we thought we could establish an entity that is independent and that can be facilitated to do a good job. But the successive ministers, I dare mention.
That is from the late Mutula Kilonzo?
No. From Kaimenyi to Matiang'i. I think Amina Mohammed tried to really regularize the processes of the ministry, but she was kicked out by cartels, even together with yours truly, because the cartels don't want the truth. And then Magoa became a chief inspector of schools, which is not his role. You can't have a minister running around schools and you think you can do anything meaningful. The framework of education is such that the people who visit schools and generate reports that they share with those particular institutions is the quality assurance and standards officers. That one, yes. And that clause was violated and discarded by all the ministers over the years. Because right now we are in 2024. Education would not exist if we had this provision. So really, DG, don't talk of preparing a law. The law is already there. It is only that it is being ignored. And we know there have been efforts to try and amend that provision. And I think now in 2024, what the Education Committee should do is to summon the minister and ask the minister why the ministry has not implemented this.
But I said that,
so I think,
you need to arrest people.
I think now, Julius...
What did you ask, Kevin?
No, I was just trying to help him understand that is why I was bringing in Parliament, so that they ask concerns around implementation.
That is within oversight. Yeah. But with respect to what has happened in schools, those are outright criminal activities somebody take criminal actions on those ones. If it's criminal action, it's criminal action.
Sure.
But once this is implemented, then the ministers should stop doing the work of quality assurance, running around schools, supervising buildings. That is not their work. A minister in all the standards oversees the administration of the sector. Is administration and policy formulation. But a minister cannot run out of the office, run from this school to that school. That is a work of quality assurance. Under the law, it's quality assurance officers who can visit school any minute and even visit teachers in class, observe classroom teaching, and generate reports. Can we do things the right way? As long as that entity does not exist, then our education system will continue deteriorating. We'll continue talking in the talk shows where there are disasters. We'll continue going to mourn and sending messages of condolence. How many times are we going to fly the flags at half-mast because of disasters that can be prevented and out of our own negligence? I think as a country, and as you have stated, we need now Michuki approach in the sector, and we don't need to generate new policies. Let us have the policies.
I want to get. All right, great. I want us to get something else, gentlemen. And I hear all of you, because if education is not well taken care of, then as a country we've lost. It goes to education, it goes to health, etc., etc. On Friday,
Victor, did you know that, and my co-panelists could confirm, that education is the highest funded from our budget, other than, I think, defense and security?
It is the highest funded, But even we don't have accountability structures to tell us what the money has done. Other than the destruction of...
What is a percentage?
Other than the destruction of quality assurance, even the audit unit has also been destroyed.
Okay. All right.
So that the money that goes to school is not audited.
For the sake of the viewer, you've raised a very good point, Kevin. The highest funded, to what tune?
I think it's almost 37%.
I'll give you
plus.
figures.
Yeah, please do.
I'll give you. UNESCO recommends minimum 6% of GDP. All member state countries must put in at least 6% of the GDP. Kenya, we are just around, sometimes 5.96% of GDP is funds that goes to education. If you compare with a country like Tanzania, it is doing 2%. So when you look at what you're doing, Kenya has done very well. And in that space, we argued since 2003 with Kibaki administration, when free education started, a lot of money has gone into education. And with the new administration, a lot has gone into it. But the question is, what is the money doing? Do we account for the money?
That is a big question.
And these individuals who have destroyed the accounting powers of auditors and audit units in the education, why have they done that?
Great.
Could the money be landing in the wrong hands? Could there be some fishy corruption deals so that... Why did we change even the book procurement so that it is done nationally and not through the bookshops at the locality? There are a lot of fishy deals. Where there are billions of shillings, there are cartels. And I dare say here in this show, in public, that there are cartels around these education funding and funds within the school system. And until and unless we strengthen the audit system and how this money is dispersed to schools and utilized according to the policy of Kibaki. You know, Kibaki was not mad when he recommended the establishment of bookshops in every county so that the school the school fund committee can go and procure books. And you know, books you choose, teachers choose under what we call the recommendation on the status of teachers, ILO UNESCO recommendation number 60. Part of the work of the teachers, duty number 1, is to choose the books to use in class. The books I would choose as a chemistry teacher to teach a chemistry class at Nakuru High School where I taught. It's not the same chemistry book I chose to teach chemistry at St. Teresa Girls, my first posting in Marakwet where I taught. So the books are different, you must choose. But then somebody came and centralized the textbook procurement here in Kenya and said we are saving money for the government. It was not about saving, but it was about delivery of quality teaching and offering opportunities for teachers.
What I've come to realize.
So this centralization of textbooks is more of capitalism and making of money.
You know what I've come to realize?
Wrong thing.
That you are opening a whole new set of discussion, because what is happening and what is ailing the education sector, or let me use this word, what is failing the education sector is quite broad. That perhaps we need something to...
And we must talk about it.
We might talk about it. I promise I'll dedicate time so that we can interrogate it further and have figures and facts on the table so that we can talk about this in totality. Now, I want us to come into something as we finalize on this discussion. So the president will be marking 2 years in office this coming Friday. And so far he's outlined his achievements in the administration. One of them is was out there, and that was also, it's also actually put here on the star. The achievements are contained in the Better Pillar, that is in the Better Pillar scorecard report on President William Ruto's track. It was also released by the Office of the Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of Performance and Delivery Management, that is Eliud Owalo. The report was obtained just 2 days. Friday will be marking his 2 years since he was sworn in officially in office. I don't know, will you be marking your 2 years in office, DG? Ulibeba Biblia tarehe
September.
Yes, when he was sworn in. He was sworn in on 13th of September 2022.
Yes.
So we'll be clocking
2 years.
We'll be clocking.
That is for the president, but he's asking him about the counties.
The counties.
Counties were ahead of the president because of the Supreme Court issues.
So in our case, maybe the governor might release
All right, I'll come back to you shortly. So now, okay, all right. So let's just come back to this. I'll give you a minute so that you can also take a scorecard of different counties. You've also director of County Executive Watch, County Governance Watch, sorry.
Yeah.
I want us to take a look at this. Very fast, the government has registered 5.95 million farmers through the digital platforms, according to that one, to the report, pushing the number to 6.15 million. It also says that since the launch of the new program, the number of fertilizer bags distributed to farmers has risen by 7.2 million to 8.6 million. Let me continue. The cost per bag of fertilizer has decreased by 3,500 bag from 6,000 in 2022 to 2,500 in 2024. Currently, maize production increased by 24 million bags from 61.74 million bags in 2022 to 85.7 million bags in 2023. Let me continue. The average production price of maize per bag also dropped from 4,729 to 3,980. So the government is has also supported, according to the report, supported MSMEs, I beg your pardon, by providing equipment for production. So generally, the president has outlined his achievements over the last 2 years. Allow me to start with you, DJ, because there's connection between the national government and the county governments. What is your general overview of the Kenya Quad administration and also your administration where you work? Spot of achievement.
Let me make a general statement.
Sorry?
Let me make a general statement.
Kindly.
That is, the president and Kenya Kwanza, they might have achieved what they have achieved. But that has been watered down by the demonstrations across the country by the youth and by the university students. Secondly, when we came to the office, the Kenya administration leadership summoned the governors across the country and their deputies. And we sat and we were assured that what has not been done for the last over 10 years will be done within the first 6 months. Both the functions and the resources. To our surprise, today it is still that promise, still waiting. We were told the issue of delayed disbursement of funds will be a thing of past. Today, facts prove otherwise. We were promised that, and by the way, this was both in Azimio and in Kenya Kwanza manifesto. Azimio was saying 30 to 35% of the revenue nationally will go to devolution.
Yeah.
Kenya Kwanza were promising 35 to 40, even 45 in public rallies. I can tell you today it is less than 10% what goes to counties. And even that little one is being delayed for months. Okay? So I think that performance, when you weigh what is alleged to have been achieved and what is happening on the other side, I think this is what is happening on the other side is more than what is alleged to have done, in my view.
Yeah.
We need to move from centralism to the people. Mahatma Gandhi once said, India is not going to be developed by how many industrial cities they develop, but how many villages will be transformed. Meaning, and I think the late third president of the Republic of Kenya, Emilio Mwai Kibaki, understood what Mahatma Gandhi meant, because he was, even before the enactment of 2010 Constitution, he had already started taking resources to the grassroots.
Yes.
And that is demonstrated by some of the, it is during his time for the first time, leave alone the constitution, although the constitution was a major achievement. But during his tenure, we saw funds like youth fund going to constituency level, electricity fund going to constituency level, roads fund go to the constituency level. CDF was established during Mheshimiwa Kibaki's tenure, still at the grassroots level. It was during his time that we had Women Enterprise Fund go to established at national level, but with a focus at the grassroots level.
Yes.
Now, what Kenya Kwanza is doing is they are trying to undo that. And remember, we had this decentralization in 1963. We saw the country grow, but we moved so fast and went to centralism again. Now we are seeing Kenya Kwanza systematically. President, look at 3/4 of what he has launched since he came to the office is within the mandate of the county governments. It's like Kenya Kwanza, they talk devolution, but in practice, they try to kill it. And actually they are killing it. I can tell you, for free, they are killing it. And I'm not saying what I'm saying because I'm a deputy governor of a county. No. I'm not saying this because I'm an official of a county. No, far from it. As a scholar, I know how state building can be effectively implemented in any country. In Kenya, the policies we have are going to kill this country, not take them forward. And I think, to me, as far as performance is concerned, I think what they have achieved nowadays, you can see an MP going to launch a water project, a dam, a borehole. You wonder, sincerely. Last time I checked our constitution, we have separation of powers.
Yes.
It is not being adhered to. Many people, technocrats at the national level, they only think of one government called national government. And that is why we are able to look at the welfare of the employees at national level. Counties, you come, it is another thing. That is why even money can be brought in Kenya, we don't factor in counties. We just use it the way we want. And a lot of it, these debts we are paying, most likely that money did not come to Kenya. It bought some properties somewhere abroad and the people marry happy. So some of these things, I think because the issue was achievement, simply put, what the administration has done is more destructive than what they have achieved positively. Two counties, and specifically my county. We have done what we have done. And the one thing the other day, my governor was awarded as one of the best governors in this country in public participation, public engagement, public input, and using the same opinions from the residents to make sure they shape how we do our budget.
Is that why she was accused of running away with the 600 plus million?
That is an accusation and a political thing. You know, we know too well. We know too well.
Yeah.
Now that has come up. The issue of close to 700 million. You know, even in failed states, you cannot walk around with that kind of money. You can't. It is just politics. And I'm sure Kenya has effective agencies to deal with that. And I know the truth will come out so soon. But I can tell you that is far from it. Let me execute my point of development, because when we deal with political propaganda, we'll
deal with it.
Actually, we will deal with it at the right time. But I can assure Kenyans, Governor Wavinya Ndeti is well wherever she is. She went out officially for official engagement together with the other governors. After that, she had to take a child to school, and then come back. And she will come back. She has spoken on the matter. And I know it is not practically possible. Assume that was true. It is not practically possible to carry that.
So what is the truth behind this allegation?
The truth is, it's just competitors who are trying to. The purpose of that allegation was just to make sure people of Machakos don't trust our governor. They will treat her as a thief. They will not, going forward, believe in her. But what we are working on will bring out the truth, and we will ashame them during the daytime.
You singled out the person?
Yeah, we know them. From where is it? Having sat in National Security Committee for all these years, I fail to know what is happening.
So for the record, so Governor Wavinya Ndeti is free wherever she is?
She's very much free. I talk to her every now and then. I can even give you a number and you call and engage Kenyans. 2, all governors, the 47 of them, are orders of diplomatic passport, making them diplomats for this country. If anything of such a kind or anything else was committed by Governor Wavinya Ndeti, that transmission, that communication will be done to Kenya by UK government, and if need be, she will be imported. She will be deported to this country immediately. Have you heard anything? Zero. Because this was a political, choreographed thing that was just meant to raise political temperature for nothing. But we will deal with it.
So there was no money lost?
No arrest at all. No arrest at all.
No money lost?
No money. From where?
All right.
Now, to counties, performance, their counties. Let me finish, I will forget. Please tell the director to give me 1 minute. So performance,
we still have a bit of some
performance at the county level, we are doing from Machakos, where I come from. We have challenges and major challenges because of these funds delays. But still, even under that, we are trying our level best. Before that, before the award for public participation came in, we were celebrating an award from World Bank, saying whatever has been given to Machakos County has been utilized well as a result of a report they themselves did independently.
I'll come back to you. There's something. There's a reason why I'll come back to you later.
Okay.
Yes, Kevin.
Yeah,
2 years performance contract, performance overview, and from your point of view and your desk, what do you take home?
Victor, the president's scorecard is misplaced. And it is misplaced because some of the issues, of course, taking into account that we don't have the full report here, but most of the issues that you are raising are not in the purview of the national government. Agriculture is fully devolved. And if you were to look at the State of the County address that was released by the chair of the Council of Governors, Mheshimiwa Anne Waiguru, the counties have done better. You are talking 5.5 million farmers. The counties are reporting almost double that number. You are talking about issues of fertilizers, but the Chief of Staff, my good friend Mheshimiwa Walo, is not telling us about the drama that has engulfed, absorption of that fertilizer, issues around corruption, the fake fertilizer concerns. So in my view, what we would have expected that the national government would have done for His Excellency the President, not to, of course, cement the degree of citizen journalism that is ongoing right now from people that we have largely trained. Citizens are taking photos of fake projects that are being launched that contribute to white elephants in counties. The housing project, almost every county in this country has a facility called Housing Project, which was done by the Jubilee government. And as Kevin Osido, I have visited many of those projects where, in fact, they're just lying waste.
What is the state of counties as the county governors watch? What is the state of counties?
I am coming to that. So what the scorecard of His Excellency the President should have looked like is what I call the GJ laws, where G is governance, J is justice, L is law, O is order, and S is security. And if you look at those 5 or 6 parameters, Victor, the Jubilee government, the Kenya Kwanza government has not done well. Governance, accountability and transparency is really the reason why the Gen Zs took us to the streets, and is largely the reason why Kenyans are asking for accountability for public funds. On justice, we've just been talking about schools here, equity, equality, you know, concerns around key services that need to be taken to citizens, and we are not seeing that really being segmented. Law, why is the IG of police acting, skipping court orders 6 times?
7.
Now is the 7th time, and somebody is just lying somewhere, you know. And of course, security concerns, we can talk about them over and over again. For the counties, to be honest with you, despite the challenges that engulf the funding and the disbursement of funds to county governments, concerns around pending bills, Mheshimiwa is aware about this, to over hundreds of billions of Kenya shillings, the counties have tried. And based on an assessment that we do at County Governance Watch through a tool that is called the CGI, the County Governance Index, we are scoring most counties to almost a 64%. Of course, noting the fact that all these counties are uniquely placed and they deal with very many different issues and challenges, despite even the kind of budgets that they also receive, because not all counties receive the same equal amount based on the formula by CRA. You know? But if you look at what they have been able to do based on the functions that have been given to counties, most counties have done better. And I can share with you our latest county governance index, which now we are engaging counties directly. We have engaged the Nairobi County, where very soon we were assessing the state of the public participation that is supposed to inform national public participation law and policy as well. We are in conversations with them to address...
By the way, Machakos County, I think, is doing very well in public participation.
Yes, yes.
Anytime I call the G is somewhere deep down in the village doing public participation.
And DG has talked about it, that they were awarded as the best. And that's why I can't go into the details of each of the 47 counties. And so I said over 64% for most of the indices, like public participation, where I was saying that Nairobi County, we have identified some of the challenges. And right now, in fact, tomorrow is Thursday, we are meeting with the CEC and the chief officer and the stakeholders to now share a draft of the report which we have done on status of public participation. Where, for instance, why would you call people for a public participation process and they have no idea what the agenda is? You know, you show up with huge voluminous documents at 2 p.m. when the Gazette notice said it is 9 a.m. So these are some of the concerns that we are beginning to address with counties. Kiambu County, just a few weeks ago, we together with Governor Wamatangi, he ascended to the Kiambu County Public Persons with Disability Act, which we have done together with the county government and the county assembly and other stakeholders, really to cement this issue of inclusion and spaces of those who are largely left behind. And I can give you stories of each of almost all the 47 counties, Victor. But 2 years down the line for the national government, of course, now is much ahead for the county governments. Some of the issues that need to be addressed, really largely, because I think that is where the rubber is meeting the road. Counties need to be supported. If you walk into some of these counties, even the roads that have been done, Victor, are roads that, were it not for devolution, the citizens of those counties would never have seen them. Employment spaces for some of the young people, the women, who now work in counties through either contracts, you know.
This sounds like your recommendation.
I am telling you, we took a ground as they are. Even as you're asking me to come to the recommendations, but just to segment the fact that counties have done better than what the national government needs to have done. But if you want me to rush to the recommendations, therefore, is one, we must address the issue of impeachment of governors. It is not possible that a governor can face an impeachment more than 4 times, 6 times. And we have precedents over this. The former Embu governor went through this process. Right now, through the National Dialogue Committee report, the Bomas process, there is actually a law that has been proposed on impeachment of governors. We must be able to delink politics from service delivery. And so that law really provides the threshold of what would require for a county governor to be impeached. And I'm saying this because county governors and assemblies largely under siege from one other. The other one is fighting the other from this angle and that angle, but this really impedes service delivery. So even as we move forward to the next phase of devolution, we need to look at what are some of the misses and the gaps. Number 2 is, of course, issues of pending bills, which we have talked about. Many counties now have pending bills committees, including Machakos County, but the concern is, what are the results? Are they just committees with members who sit there and we don't see, you know, the outputs, largely from the resources that are being given to service providers that have delivered services to the counties. Also, despite, of course, recommendations from the Controller of Budget and also the Auditor General that before you access your budgets through the IFMIS, there is a threshold of how much, isn't it, Mheshimiwa? You need to pay towards pending bills. Of course, issues of delayed disbursement, Mheshimiwa has talked about it, and we have, I think, canvassed over this issue over and over again. Institutions of governance, Victor, need to be empowered, like IBEC. There is no reason why we should have the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council that does nothing, you know. That institution exists with a very important function. Those functions need to be respected, and the individuals that have the responsibility to discharge their mandate in those institutions also need to be respected.
Thank you.
So I think I would leave it at that, Victor. Of course, not to mention that, again, Kenya Kwanza has not done well in debt management concerns. The scorecard of the president needs to tell us why he dismissed his cabinet, you know, why 2 finance bills were dismissed as unconstitutional by law. So the concentration by that office has not done justice to Kenya Kwanza government and largely the president, because they are spending time taking successes from areas where they have not sold.
Thank you. Sosyon,
yeah, the mechanics of the constitution must be allowed to operate all the time. And this is what has operated. The Gen Zs came out to express themselves, not because there was really a big issue within the country, but as part of their democratic freedom, they came to express themselves. But largely, the ecosystem under which county governments and national government are operating is an ecosystem of conflict between politics and governance, and sometimes we cannot draw a clear line between the two. But nevertheless, within that framework and within the constitutional ecosystem that we have, a lot of good work is being achieved. The foundation of development is transparent and democratic governance, which I think the president has allowed the counties have done very well. And of course, I salute Wavinya Ndeti. I've seen her really midwife meaningful public participation programs, and I've seen also Governor Wanga of Homa Bay. And in fact, Governor Wanga of Homa Bay, if you look at the model of the development, is actually the plan of Kenya Kwanza, and it's working. There's housing units and many programs being done. So that generally, the 5 pillars of Kenya Kwanza, whose is it? It doesn't belong to the president as a person. It belongs to the people of Kenya. And we cannot draw a line and say, no, this is not the work of county government or national government. I think those of us who are legal experts, in all these, there must be consultation between counties and national government. If we're talking about agriculture, for example, Deputy Governor is here. The stage of agricultural activities is the counties. The national policies, insofar as to do it, fertilizers, extension services, and all that will be born and generated nationally. But through consultation...
No, they buy fertilizer at national level. Centralism.
Listen.
And that's why they are selling us
you cannot allow a
fake fertilizer, endangering national security, endangering food security.
The truth of the matter is, a county cannot procure fertilizers internationally.
Why?
It is impossible.
Who said why?
Why? No, those are facts, and it has not worked. And national
why?
National
This is a government.
Because it is about national security. Food security.
You are seeing the agents of anti-devolution.
No.
Don't allow Mheshimiwa to continue this route.
You should shut down this governor and allow me to do my part. You spoke, I didn't touch you. So
you are justifying why Kenya Kwanza is killing devolution.
Number one, agriculture. Do you want to procure fertilizer?
Why not?
You want to procure?
We can procure and give our farmers.
To do so.
No, we can buy the quality one, not the fake one.
Cooperation between national and county government is a provision in the constitution, and that must prevail in all devolved functions. No. Allow me, you had your chance.
Point of information.
I don't need to be informed. I'm
But
not
you are
asked for
misleading the
information.
public, sir.
Yes.
No, I'm not
You are
misleading.
No, but this is the constitution.
I'm not misleading.
I just wanted to inform you on the
So the
constitution.
5 pillars.
We are done. We are done.
We don't allow him to continue. He's misleading.
We are done with the show.
Are you done with the show?
Kindly, just do 30 seconds. Kindly.
Are you done with the show?
Yes, 30 seconds.
No, director says he'll continue, but don't allow him to continue misleading and misinforming
If you're
Kenyan
done
people.
with the show, then I'll cease commenting.
Okay.
Because you took their comments. Yeah,
We
you took
are.
their comments.
If you see the producer on the
But
floor,
these are
just things are out
conversations as well. Yeah.
things are
It's
out
a
of hand.
conversation.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the fact of the matter is the 5 pillars. Agriculture, there are tremendous results that are indicative from the figures that the fertilizer subsidies and other programs have made significant changes.
Okay.
Even the cost of food has come down. Victor, number 2, MSMEs. There are a lot of investment programs that have been done in this space. Affordable housing. There is completion of very many projects right across the country and others being undertaken, including even markets. Those are other infrastructural needs
are county
that are
government
needed.
functions.
No, it doesn't matter.
Not national government functions.
There is no separation between county and national.
We have a schedule
on the absolute.
Let's do this.
Absolute.
Let's do this. Okay. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa Wilson Sosion. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa Wilson Sosion, former NAT Secretary General and former Member of Parliament. I wish we had more time, but if you see the producer on the floor, things are running out of hand. I need to, I don't know whether we have this in 10 seconds. The Deputy Governor, you were celebrated as number 1, the best performing Deputy Governor in Eastern Region. Again, that is 1. Honorable Francis Mwangagi. That is it. On the screen, yeah, that is one of the awards. I think if I got it right, that is, no, that's 2 awards. That is, yes, second best performing Deputy Governor, Kenya. That is Honorable Francis Mwangangi. And another one here is the best performing governor, Deputy Governor, Eastern Region. Congratulations. Thank you. Makofi sana. So that's where we wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Francis Mwangangi, or joining us from Deputy Governor Machakos County, Kevin Osido, Chief Executive of the County Governor's Watch, of course, Wilson Sosion. I wish I had more time. Guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Victor Lowe. Bye-bye and good morning. See you next time.
Anyway, nothing gets me pumped up like today's lesson. I hope teacher is coming.
Now you want me to speed out my business strategy, si ndio? Unaniona nikikaa paka ama nini? Do you want this dance or not?
Fala, what is wrong with you? Julian, don't mind him, just like a porcupine. 1 year, how many hours were you fooling around with? What? I did no such thing.
You did no such thing. It is my word against yours.
Wow, black men. Typical Kinyanjui. Wake me up when all this is over. When I'm am wiser and I'm older.
There's faith in my world. It comes back to your teachings and all your words.
Swala ni jambo ambalo limesisitiziwa kwa sababu Mtume Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam aliwahi kusema kuwa amefaidika yule ambaye atatekeleza swala yake hali ya kuwa ana khushu'.
Aswa usarkata alladhi yasriku fi salati, yule muizi ambaye kwamba ni mbaya kushinda wote ni yule ambaye kwamba anaiba katika swala yake. Mtume alipoyasema yale, maswahaba wakashangaa, wakamuuliza wa kaifa yasriku fi salati, vipi mtu anaweza kuiba katika swala yake? Akasema alladhi la yutimu ruku'aha wala sujuda.
Akolo beshimali wala kwa mkono wa kushoto.
Yes, I swear by Allah, I swear.
Ever crazy.
Wewe hata niongea.
Unasonga kuliko
Nilivyo kidogo ndio hii mkasema quick batu. Mtasema ha batu.
Undoubtedly entertaining.
Anguka now, check it. Anguka now.
And mind-boggling.
We are doomed. We are doomed. Members of Parliament, we are doomed. I'm telling you.
The savage netizens.
Wacha nilie kwanza.
Capturing that unique moment.
Tunasonga kuliko nduthi.
When a woman is given the tools and opportunities to support herself, the impact created goes far beyond her. It creates a cycle of women empowerment where one generation inspires and uplifts the next.
My name is Lydia Wasike. I'm the founder of Yomosco and the CEO of Yomosco. Yomosco, which stands for Young Mothers and Street Families Charity Organization.
For Lydia Wasike, this realization led her to begin the Yomosco organization, an institution that offers young women an opportunity to rise against all odds. Her inspiration came from getting a child at 14 years old and ending up on the streets.
What inspired me to start this initiative? It's something I've been through. It's something I went through. I gave birth at a teenager age. I was only 14 years. Nikapata mtoto wa kike. Yeah, so what I went through ni kitu yenye iliniguza sana because nilipitia mengi sana. Nikikuja kuishi nilikuja baba dogo with my aunt. My aunt alinikaribisha tukakaa naye. But challenges za maisha, kila mtu na maisha yake. Maisha haikuwa rahisi. Mpaka ikanisukuma nikakosa mahali pa kukaa. Nikajikuta kwa street with my baby. I went through a lot. I remember nikienda kubeg kijana, like ninaomba kijana anisongee. Ani take him to at least niweze kulea mtoto wangu juu. Huyo kijana alikuwa ananitaka. But that time nilikuwa nakumbuka venye nilipata mtoto, nasema nikijaribu hivi tena ni mimba nyingine. But naambia huyo kijana, tafadhali tu nimekosa mahali pa kuishi, kama tu unaweza nisongea tafadhali. Nikae na wewe, nilee tu mtoto wangu. Huyo kijana akaniambia, Lydia, I don't think if I'm ready to marry. Naambia no, si ati kuolewa. Naomba tu makao juu sina mahali pa kukaa. Niko na mtoto. Ujombani nimeambiwa siwezi rudi kwa kina mama because my grandmom alinilea, tena haizi nilea na mtoto. So huyo kijana akasema haiwezekani. Penye aliniambia haiwezekani nikakuwa stranded. I remember it was around saa 2 asubuhi. Kijana akaniambia haiwezekani, hataweza. Nikamwambia basi tu nisongee, hata kama tu utanipea tu mahali nikae tafadhali. Sio lazima nikuwe bibi yako. Akaniambia ukikaa na mimi, the neighbors wataona ni kama nimeoa. Kijana akakataa. Kukataa akaniambia nao itabidi umetoka nifunge mlango juu naenda kazi. Sina mahali pa kwenda, like completely sina, na mtoto ni mdogo. Nilitoka tu nje ya plot. Hiyo place ilikuwa inaitwa Ngomongo, baba dogo somewhere in a slum. Nikatoka tu nje ya mlango, nikakaa hapo nje ya gate with my baby. Nimembeba mtoto alikuwa hajafikisha kitu 30 minutes. Nililia. I think nililia ile uchungu ya huna mzazi, huna mahali pa kwenda. Ukijana mwenye alinipea hii ujauzito ako wapi? Nikalia kabisa. Kuna mama moja akasikia. So nikilia, mtoto wangu pia akaanza kulia. Sasa tunalia wote. And that time mkiniona nilikuwa katoto kanibeba mtoto. Sasa tunalia wote. Tumelia mpaka yani huyo mama akasikia, akatoka nje akachungulia. Ni nani wanalia hapa nje? Akakuja nini? Wewe msichana. Ni nani amekuchapa? Sasa kiniuliza hivyo sasa ndio hasira inaongezeka. Ninalia, nikilia mtoto pia analia. Akaniuliza, "Unaenda wapi? Na unafanya nini hapa na mtoto? Ni mapema sana." Niambia, "Unaweza ingia kwa nyumba uniambie shida iko wapi?" Nikamwambia tukaingia. Niambia, "Sasa msichana, unaweza niambia unalia nini na umetoka wapi na unaenda wapi?" Nikamwambia mimi nilikuwa naishi mahali fulani, lakini at the moment sina mahali pa kukaa kwa sababu mtu nilikuwa naishi naye hana uwezo na maisha pia wenye nampeleka amesema hataweza kunilea mimi na mtoto. Huyo mama aliguzwa na hakuwa na mtoto. Alikuwa na mtoto mmoja msichana bati mkubwa. So she was staying alone. Hakuwa na mtu. She was a single lady. Akaniuliza, "Now, umesema unaitwa nani?" Nikamwambia naitwa Lydia. Mtoto anaitwa nani? Mtoto anaitwa Lavin. Mtoto alikuwa hajamaliza mwaka. Akaniambia, "Sawa, sasa mimi mali naweza kusaidia, siwezi kudanganya ati niko na pesa nitakupea." Nikamwambia, "Mimi hata sitaki pesa. Nataka tu mali nezekelea kichwa na mtoto wangu. Na nikienda nikihustle nipate venye nitaweza kujisimamia." Akaniambia, "It's well. I'll take you in kama mtoto wangu." Tukakaa first week, second week akanipeleka training in a near market. It was Kariobangi market. Akanipeleka kwa rafiki yake. Akaniambia, "Nimepewa msichana, you coach her mpaka ajue kushona. The moment atajua kushona, uniambia amejua kushona, nitajua venye nitamsaidia from there." Nikaingia training. Nikafanya training, huyo mama akanikoach, nikajua everything. So nikielekea kumaliza, akakuja akaniambia tuko kwa nyumba by the way tunaishi. Akaniambia, "Now there's somewhere wana recruit watu mambo na kushona in a certain company just near ilikuwa baba dogo. Can you do that work?" Nikamwambia, "Yes, of course. Mbona nisifanye? Mimi nitafanya." "Utaweza?" Nilikuwa mdogo. Alafu nilikuwa teenager kadogo. "Utaweza?" Nikamwambia, "Nitaweza." Niambia, "Nimesikia hizo kampuni kazi kuangi mchezo." Nikamwambia, "I'll try." At that time sikuwa na ID. Juu sijafikisha miaka. Mungu tu fungua milango, nikapata job. Kupata job, hiyo job haikuwa rahisi. But I had to. Juu ninaangalia mtoi wangu. So venye nilipata hiyo kazi, I remember my first salary ilikuwa 8,000. But at that time 8,000 was a lot. Nikachukuliwa, nikaanza kazi, nikafanya first month, second month. Nilifanya almost a year. Nikapata something. Mama akaniambia, "Now inafaa ujipange, at least uweze ujipange na maisha yako." Nikamwambia, "Hata hivyo ndio nataka." Nikasave for almost 9 months kazi yangu Kariobangi. After kuweka kazi yangu, then maisha tu ikakuwa sawa, like God alifungua milango. Nikakuwa tu stable, ningeweza kuprovide mtoi wangu, ningeweza kujilipia rent. So nikaambia mom, I just move out, at least ninaweza jisimamia. Bahati mbaya, yo mama akakuja akaaga, but nilikuwa nishaweka biashara zangu. Nilikuwa nimeweka biashara yangu in Kariobangi market.
She saw the crucial need to change this narrative by equipping young women with different skills.
What I went through ndio ilinifanya nirudi, I give back to the community. So nikiweka hiyo biashara Kariobangi, kuna msichana nikamwona anashinda akikuja kila siku asubuhi, anakaa mahali na mtoto amejikunja. Nikamuuliza nini unatafutanga? Ati nakujanga kibarua kwa hiyo hoteli, lakini sometimes anapata wamechukua watu. Nikamwambia siwezi kusaidia, nitakupea pesa kila siku, sitaweza. Kitu naweza kusaidia nayo, are you willing kushona? Akasema unaweza taka kujua? Akasema So mimi ndani ya roho yangu nilikuwa nikiona kila msichana Tracy, kila msichana mdogo ambeba mtoto, nilikuwa naona tu ni mimi. Msichana nikamchukua, akaanza training hapo kwangu, akamaliza, akapata kazi hapo tu kwa soko. So after kumaliza akaleta wengine wakakuja, nikapata wasichana wangapi? 3. That was like, na ninafanya nini by the way?
Seeing successful stories of women who have turned their lives around and made a good life for themselves, Lydia gets the motivation to push through the difficult days, knowing that each girl empowered is a step to progress in every aspect of society.
Na enjoy tu kuwafunza. Wakishajua kushona hivyo, nikiona mtu amejisimamia, that is my joy. So ni kitu niliendelea, nikajikuta niko na wasichana 6. Space yenye nilikuwa nayo, because it was just a small space, stalls zinakuanga ndogo sana, haziwezi ingia machine zaidi ya 4. Na nilikuwa na machine 3. So venye nilipata wasichana wengi, nikachukua stalls ngapi? 2. Kuchukua hizo stalls 2 ikakuwa siezi afford to pay those stalls because they are expensive. I had to look a house outside the market, somewhere in light industry. Nikachukua nyumba, ilikuwa tu nyumba like a bed sitter, nika room tu, but it was big ukicompare na stalls za market. Tukahamisha machine zetu, tukaanza classes. I was the tutor, nilikuwa mimi ndio kila kitu. Kwanza classes tukajifunza, tukamaliza. From there COVID ikagonga, kazi ikarudi chini. I remember nilikuwa nimeenda somewhere in Nyayo House, tulikuwa tumeenda meeting fulani. So kwenda hiyo meeting, vitu zilikuwa zinafunzwa, it's all about women empowerment. Nasikia tu zinaniguza. Alafu mimi naangalia watu wenye nimeacha nyuma wakifanya vitu zao, like hiyo kushona. Nikajiambia, so this is something I can do. Nikajiambia, let me do the registration of what I'm doing. Nikakaa chini, nikatafuta jina, then I did the registration in 2021. We support girls from 18 to 28 wenye wanatoka kwa familia zenye hazijiwezi. Unapata wengine maybe hawana makao completely, just as yenye nilipitia through. Unapata msichana alipata ujauzito akiwa mdogo, then wazazi wakamdeny, so hana mahali pa kuishi.
Coming from difficult backgrounds, these women have to undergo mental counseling sessions to help them cope with difficult emotions and break unhealthy patterns that could derail them in the program.
Hawa wasichana wengi wao wameenda through a lot. They need counseling. So lazima wapitishwe through mental awareness. So after mental awareness, which tulifanya iko every Mondays, after computer classes wako na hiyo mental awareness, at least wanafunzwa the challenges zenye tunapitia. Unajua everything ni mambo na resources. Unapata like for the staff, for the tutors, they volunteer. You can't trace volunteer your entire time. Unapata like sasa mwalimu amekuja, amefunza for a month, then anaona sitaendelea hivi, anaenda another one, maybe mwingine anakuja. Hiyo ku change of tutors pia inaleta ni challenges zenye tunapitia sana. My motivation is when I just see these girls win. Nikiona tu yani msichana amekuja hapa, kuna kitu amepata kazi. That keeps me going. Touching their lives. When I remember mali nilikuwa, that keeps me going. It's all about changing these girls' lives. Yeah, changing these girls' lives. Like, naweza taka sana My wish is neza taka sana ni touch so many lives. Like isini limit ni ikwe tu ni hapa Saika. I want to go kwenda kabisa everywhere. I want to touch lives. I want to change lives.
Starting with just 3 students in a rented stall, Yomosco has grown and now offers various technical courses that are considered basic and important.
My name is Audrey Wanjiko. I'm the administrator here at Yomosco organization. It has been a really long journey. Our founder started this vision way before 2019, but it was not like clearly defined what she wanted to do as per the organization. And now this is when now she started to see there's a need to work with young people in these communities that are not very wealthy or anything. So she started the first formal classes in Kariobangi in a small room. She had 5 students. They were doing tailoring and now the events. And slowly and by slowly, now she started to see the need to officially register the organization. The first cohort we had 12 graduates. That was last year. This year we had 1 cohort that started in January. They finished in June. There were about 20 students. Now we have already begun the second cohort and they will be graduating in December. We had a graduation last year of 12 students. This cohort we are working with, we had 20 students in the first cohort. Now we are working with about 15 students. So hopefully in December we'll be graduating 35 students from the 12 students from last year. As per now, we have very many ladies who would like to benefit from the organization. But currently we are not able to accommodate many people because we have a small space. Also the programs that we have currently running require a lot of resources. We have hair and beauty, we have fashion and design, and the resources are not so many. It is not easy to divide the resources equally among all programs, so we are only able to have the 20 students. That's the maximum we can have per cohort, yes, at the moment.
With the help of the community, the organization is able to get tutors who volunteer to teach the women.
Along the way, we've met well-wishers. We have people from the community who also help us. We are now currently partnering with Life Ministry and Kin International. We also have a few friends, families who come and step in for us. At the moment, we are also trying to get grants from the government, from other NGOs. Yeah, we're just working towards getting the resources to work for the organizations. As Yomosco, we are privileged, I would say, to be centered in a community organization. We work very closely with the churches and the communities around us, with the Nyumba Kumis and the chairman of different places here. So that's how we majorly get our trainers.
Though the organization is able to manage the current number of students, nothing is without its challenges.
Offer us some of those trainers. Though they work on a voluntary basis, now that becomes a bit of a challenge because without offering somebody anything, it's not easy to keep them for long. So we really try to work with people. We work with their schedule so that they can benefit the courses. At the moment, we only have 1 trainer per program. Yeah, maybe eventually we can work on getting more. But considering that our number is also small, it is very doable at the moment. Their growth has been quite a lot. You know, when they come here, some of them are fresh from high school. They've not learned anything apart from our organization, what we offer. Some of them also may have dropped out in primary school or something. So when they come here, we start from the very basic lesson in all their programs. If it is tailoring, we start from the basics of learning about the machine, parts of the machine, how to step on the machine. Gradually, the hair classes, you also learn. You can see clearly from when somebody entered and how they are faring on, how their growth is. As we continue, most of them come back telling us we have new customers here and there, we are doing this, that and the other. So we are very happy to see their growth is going on nicely. I could start with the current trainer that we are using for the tailoring department, for the tailoring program. She was a student in our previous cohort. She learned the whole course, continued, and we saw that she had a lot of potential. She had we could see that she had value, she had so much interest in the program. So after they graduated, we offered her a few more trainings, and now she's a trainer here at Yomo School. Women and girls are seen as vulnerable people in the society, and once like something happens to you, maybe you get pregnant when you're at a young age, some people say like your life that's the end of your life, there's nothing much you can do about it. But there's always hope, there's always so much you can do in your life. There are many organizations like Yomo School that can help you, hold your hand, train you. We also offer mental health classes. This is a place that your well-being is the most sought out thing in your life. And I would urge people that are going through these difficult situations that they should come out and be strong in whatever they are doing. Grasp something, grasp a skill. It will help you, it will motivate you, it will also give you value in your life.
The computer classes are mandatory for all students to help them grow with the constant evolution of digital technology.
My name is Charity Katua, and I'm a student at Yomo School. I was looking for a job, which it was hard because people who are employing people, they want people who are skilled. And me, I'm just from school, so I didn't have skills. One of the members at Yomo School, Madam Elizabeth, talked to my mom, and they encouraged me to come here. It has built my confidence, and I'm getting to learn a lot of skills. We have computer classes, which is compulsory. We have hair and beauty, we have tailoring, also events, and we also learn entrepreneurship. I like to teach one or two people the skills that I've learned to also help them to gain something from that. And also, I'm aiming to start my own business. I will tell people out there, like girls like me, to not give up and to work hard and improve in whatever they are doing.
For Anne, a young mother of two, being here has given her a shift in mindset. By interacting with her peers and tutors, she understands that her voice matters and she has the power to break barriers that have held back generations.
Niko na watoto wawili, mmoja ni kijana ako na 4 years, ameingiza 5 last week on Friday, na niko na msichana ako na 10 months. Huyu wa kwanza nilipata nikiwa shule. Sasa nilipata nikiwa shule, after kujifungua, everybody in my family wakanitoroka tu. And then kajipata huku Nairobi. Then kuna mtu akaniingiza box, kaingia box yake. Huyo ndio sasa akakuwa babishel. Ikafika time life ikakuwa ngumu, akaniacha kwa nyumba. So hiyo Michelle alikuwa na 2 months, tukafungiwa nyumba. Tulala nje 3 weeks. Ndio nikaanza kutembea.
To make me feel sexy. You make me feel irate. I'm feeling it. How about you, Sandy? Do you feel it? Oh, Lord knows that I don't want to be lonely tonight. No running horse, I don't want to be lonely tonight. I don't want to wait and wait for your love. I don't want to wait and wait for your love.
Mzee, we, washtakiwa?
Wewe utiachi itakumaliza wewe mzee. Na wewe hata chupi unaipa ya nini? Na wewe si msichana. Wewe ni mjinga ya wapi hata wewe?
Kwa nini hiyo miaka yote ikawa ni siku hiyo tu? Umetuitania polisi.
Ninyi wote ni kama mlirokwa.
Wewe nyamaza.
Na mali si tulikuja tukakumwakia takataka.
Hapana.
Hapana, si ndio? Na usiniongeleshe na malingo kwa sababu hata mimi niko na malingo. Wewe ulikuwako tukienda kumwaka hizo takataka?
Si ndio?
Ulikuwa tukienda kumwaka hizo
Mimi
takataka?
alikuwa hiyo ndo
wewe mama hata
Ngoja.
Unafutanga pangi?
Tumii bangi.
Sasa ni swali gani hilo?
Maana anaongea vitu za ujinga, yani mtu mzima.
Wewe ukimwangalia huyu anavuta bangi.
Two incredibly talented fashion designers, Unandi and Nosibusiso. Ladies, what brings you to the Durban July?
To showcase our work and to enjoy this function. I mean, I'm inspired by the African stars, so I had to bring it to the world and represent African royalty.
When I look at this theme, I see, like, as a designer, you have to go out of this world, like, show yourself who you are, show your identity through fashion.
Now, why do both you ladies believe that fashion is such an important part of an event like this?
Us as the fashion designers, we don't get that opportunity to share and to show the public our work. And this platform is giving us the chance to go extra, because sometimes design like this, you cannot just go it anywhere. So you have to showcase in places like this so that people can see our amazing talent.
Absolutely.
This is a big opportunity for us as young designers.